adopt the agenda as, we have to vote on that. Okay, all in favor?
We need to,
I'm sorry.
the workshop minutes and the meeting minutes. We've got two separate sets of minutes.
Change the camera.
Okay, so I move to approve the workshop minutes and the meeting minutes from last week, February 19th, 2026.
You have a
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'd like to now adopt the agenda as written this evening.
So moved.
So moved. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so let's move into the public comment portion of our meeting this evening. If we have any of you good citizens that have something on your mind that you would like to express to the council tonight, the time is yours. Please come to the pulpit, state your name, and you have 3 minutes, which is a long time. Unless you need more, we'll give you more, but anyone, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Dustin Hawks. I live at 166 North Center Street here in Hiram. I'm speaking on a point that I've brought up to the city council and the previous mayor multiple times for close to 6 years now. This is in regards to the business at 50 East 200 North. It's a Stillworks business that operates there under a conditional use permit that doesn't conform to the current zoning of residential, agricultural, or R2. They operate under the permit to give them the ability to do light manufacturing, but the type of operations that happen there on a regular basis, from my perspective, exceeds light manufacturing, specifically in the areas of noise and odor, which are in the city ordinances as not being permitted under light manufacturing. So I'll just make just a few points here. The excessive noise and odor are experienced on a regular basis and is outside the scope of the light manufacturing. 2, the business operates far outside the physical boundaries of their permit on several parcels that the permit doesn't allow them to operate or to store their materials. Painting happens out in the open air and is not being contained to a painting booth, which I believe is the primary cause of the odor. But it's also being sprayed on the ground and out into the atmosphere, which I have provided a video of that to the current mayor and previous mayor. The business does start operating heavy machinery regularly before 7 a.m., often around 6:15, 6:30, 6:45. It varies on a regular basis, but it's regularly what wakes me up, the deep rumble of their large forklift and often moving big steel components off of flatbed trucks on a regular basis. Is something that we hear both early in the morning, but throughout the day consistently and constantly throughout the year. The landscaping has gone downhill dramatically, and it doesn't appear that they're following any kind of maintenance plan that would have been required under a permit if somebody had received a permit to operate light manufacturing within the city. And then materials are not covered or inside of a building. They're out in the open in a yard that get moved around a lot by forklifts throughout the day on a regular basis. So we would, as city members that live on this residential block that's surrounded by homes, ask that this business not continue to operate within this location. We're not opposed to businesses like this operating within the city. We just feel that it needs to be done in an appropriate place. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And if I can respond. Tony, would you like to respond to that? Would you like me to?
I can. Yeah. So just recently, I think it was within a few months, when I was attending one of these meetings, I had heard Mr. Hawks get up and speak to this situation, and I had met with him outside of the meeting room, and we've since that time I've collected all the information that Mr. Hawks has available. I went through some old previous folders from previous staff that took it back to 2020 It even goes back beyond that point. I have all that information collected, and I went down, I called the business owner today and asked them if I could come down and have a walkthrough of their business operations and what they do. And I walked through their entire site, and I spent about an hour with them, talking with them and letting them know that there are concerns about the business, and they will be coming into my office next week to start moving forward. And that's what pretty much all I have
Thank
at
you.
this point so far.
Thank you, Tony. I just want you to know, Mr. Hawks, that the city is not turned a blind eye or a deaf ear on this. But I want you to know that that business is within its rights in many of their aspects of what they are doing. And you just need to know that we are trying to identify and work with the business to make it an amicable relationship between the neighbors and what the business is doing. And so just be aware that the city is engaged in doing all that they can, all that we can legally. And so there are some legal ramifications that we may have absolutely no jurisdiction over. That's what we're trying to find out. But we do want you to know that this isn't a dead issue. Tony is very proactive on it. So we hear you, and we are responding in, I think, the very best way that we can. Thank you. Are there others?
Good evening. I'm Gary Gabler. I live on the same block as Dustin. I'm on the opposite side. I've lived here 20 years. I've watched that property ebb and flow and change. And it sure seems like the impact to the neighborhood has changed since this steel business has been there. I just did some quick searching on the Hiram City site. In my understanding, they're violating a couple of different ordinances that have nothing to do with their zoning. So, I mean, the noise one that Dustin mentioned, I looked at this, it says as measured 100 feet, I think it was. So, I mean, from where the forklift starts, my house is about 100, 150 feet away. And that forklift wakes me up through my house, windows closed, whatever. And so this ordinance
What
says
time of day is that? That it's
6 a.m.
6 a.m.?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
In the summer, it's much more reliable. The last couple of months, been a little bit less. I think their business ebbs and flows. When they're busy, they're starting at 6. And I mean, this says 65 or 75 decibels, and the internet tells me that that's a conversation like this. So they're way louder than that if it's coming through my house. And the other one is the odors, the painting. I worked at Nucor Building Systems in Brigham City, and they were strict about how they painted the steel. It had to be in a booth, and I mean, they're doing way more painting than this business is. So there might be some exceptions about less painting, but they're still painting right out on the ground. They miss, they overspray, that's going to run down the gravel and right into the gutter. And that can't be right. The EPA can't be going for that. So I'm looking for some enforcement on existing ordinances. I mean, 7 a.m. Let's do 7 a.m. The one thing that I don't know how Dustin and his neighbor survive, but I think they're dumping some recycle bins. But so you hear the forklift drive around, and then it sounds like they dropped a whole truck. Just crash. It has to move the ground over there. Just crazy loud. So, I mean, me as a neighbor, like Dustin said, I support businesses in Hiram, but they got to follow the ordinances. They got to be aware. That's all I'm asking them to be as a neighbor. Be aware. Wait till 7, maybe 8. I don't know. You can run that recycle bin at 4 p.m. before you go home. You don't got to do it at 6:30. So that's what I'm looking for. You want the ordinances I quoted, or you good?
I think we have them.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I just can't be quiet. So I'm Kathleen Volth. I live at 25 East First North, clear through the block from the business. And Steve and I probably know the history of the business far more than a lot of the citizens of Hiram do. And it started out conditional use and it's evolved into this big thing. And as a result of that, I feel like our whole area down where we are, the 2 or 3 blocks where we are, has just turned into construction businesses. We've got gravel trucks, we've got cement businesses, we've got another gentleman coming next week to have a permit for a light manufacturing business in the area. Our yards were beautiful. We had beautiful open spaces. And because we had these big lots, as people have sold them, they break them into smaller lots, and then people buy them and come in and think they're going to do manufacturing there. And because they see one there, it has just compounded. And our area isn't near pretty like it used to be. But I think if you look at that video that Dustin has presented, you'll see the way that business was, how many years ago? 5 years ago? 6 years ago? Nice and green. Most of the business was done inside of a building. You didn't see it outside. It was landscaped beautifully, and now it's just a junk pit, as well as the ones across the street, the ones in the next block. It's terrible to have all these dump trucks and cement trucks and all this stuff in the middle of a residential area. But I'm clear through the block from these guys, and with my doors shut and my windows shut, I still hear a constant rumbling. You know how these teenagers come down the street with their trucks and you can feel that vibration from their speakers. And we have that all day, or beep, 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 beep. And I've got even Moose's shop is between us and that place. So we've got sound barriers. He's put up lights because he had some stuff stolen. So the whole neighborhood's lit up at night. I feel really bad for the Coopers because I was sitting in Shirley's backyard and we couldn't even carry on a conversation in the afternoon because it was so loud. But she's got some real invasive problems over there from businesses and big buildings that haven't been taken care of. And as we've talked for years with the city, they always say to us, oh, we're watching it. Oh, we're watching it. So, we don't really have a lot of faith in the city at this point. We're hoping that you new ones will help us.
Okay, part of the problem is the zoning that took place several years ago is impacting what we can do. And that's what we're dealing with that. We're trying to see what we can do. So there's some things that legally we cannot do. And so we're trying to see every possible way that we can mitigate and get your neighborhood back to a beautiful neighborhood.
Thank you.
We understand.
And I hope that nothing will go on under the table like it has before, because we haven't received notice when some of the zoning things have been changed.
Nothing's going on under the table,
There's
okay?
no obligation for the city to make notice.
Oh,
Yeah.
to make a notice?
It's advertised. It's advertised the same way the law requires of us.
And how is that? In the
The
newspapers that
agendas.
nobody takes?
It's on all the agendas. You can look on the agenda online. It's posted. It's on the state website. Those are all legally advertising. It's all, we don't do it without the required notice.
But we had no idea at one point that this zoning was changing until after we had.
Well,
last
everything as
administration.
Craig has mentioned is posted on the city website, and you can go look on the agendas and you can see the entire agenda of all of the ordinances, everything that's being brought before the council for consideration. And we hope you do, because we want you a part of it, because everything is totally transparent as to what you can see. And
Well, I do think that we as citizens have got to step up a little bit because, they used to post things in the newspapers that were public notices and things. We don't have ways, they don't do that anymore.
it's a lot easier now, Kate. You can go
I-
right to the website and get everything.
Yes.
If I can just,
Please.
I know this is a public comment, but just in response to some of the things that have been discussed tonight about, I don't remember, my mind slips, about 2 council meetings ago, I think, the the council did make changes to our zoning ordinances. We eliminated some of the permitted uses in some of the commercial zones, in some of the light manufacturing zones. And those things were all advertised. Those were all things that were legally advertised. We followed legal proceedings. If we don't do that, and if somebody comes in and says, we want to do this here, and they go back and find that we had changed it without having a legal notice, then the city is at fault and in trouble. But those things have been done just recently and done legally, and for the benefit of people in areas that are potentially impacted by potential businesses like that. So,
And if I can just add, Kate, I want all of you to know that Tony Eakins, who is over planning and zoning for our city, has your best interest in mind. I have absolutely found that out in the last 4 months. He has the interest of the citizens in mind as we go through the planning, as we go through the zoning, and we're doing everything possible. I'd invite you to come in and sit down and see for yourself, Kate, if you'd like to see, because I know how frustrating it is to stand at the podium and you have a problem and you express that, and you want the city to change it, and you think tomorrow morning it's going to be changed. Well, unfortunately, that business has rights too. And they've gone through zoning, they've gone through permitting, they've gone through a process that allows them to do what they do. And that has really,
What is their zoning right now?
what is their zoning there?
Residential agriculture
Residential agriculture.
with the light manufacturing is a
Conditional use.
in that zone district.
And how long has it been zoned as that, Tony?
35 years, 40 years, probably.
I need to look at.
A long time.
The previous administration told us it was manufacturing, a special little plot that had been taken out for manufacturing.
It's a conditional use that was granted
Right.
several years ago.
Right.
And so we're doing
So
everything.
we
that-
didn't ever know. In fact, we talked to the guy when he bought it down there, and he wanted to go commercial with it. And we told him, no, we didn't want that in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And he knew. So
Well,
thank you.
Thank you, Kate, for your time. We appreciate it very much.
You guys are getting hammered. I'm Rosalie Buck, and I live at 65 East, First North, and I live just on the south side of this business. My property abuts against the business. And if any of you will take time to go down there and look, you can see the progression that has happened over the years since the initial conditional permit was put in. We have been to many, many planning meetings, many zoning meetings. And I am frustrated. And you can see there's a lot of us here that are frustrated because we've tried to work with the city and to limit the size of the business within the block. And somewhere we've gotten lost as residents there. And we're praying at this point that we can be heard because the business has always won. And the citizens that are the homeowners and the residential that has been there have lost. And I would really ask for your help at this time so that we can stay a residential area. We can go out into our backyards and visit and converse without being drowned out by the noise that's coming from the business. A lot of the barriers have been pulled out by this new business, this last business that has come in, because he didn't want to, and he told me personally that he did not want to take care of the landscaping. So there's dead trees that have never been removed, they've been pulled out, but they've never been removed. And so I would like you to lean on the side of the neighbors that have been there longer, much longer than this last business has been there. Thank you.
Have you put together a citizen group? I mean, all of you that are here tonight to talk about this business, have you collectively come together and said, let's make an appointment with the business owner and go down and talk to him? Has that been done? Well, I'm asking you if someone could call and say, could we make an appointment with you to come down as your neighbors and citizens and talk with you? Has that been done?
I have talked to.
As a group, I'm talking collectively.
No, not collectively.
Could I invite you to do that? Could I invite all of you that are here tonight in support of trying to do something with that neighborhood? Could I invite you to collectively get together, organize yourself, make a list of your complaints and call and make an appointment with the business owner and go down and go in their conference room and in a respectful way, express your concerns?
Okay.
Could I
can
invite
ask-
you to do that?
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
What can we get you to do
W-
or the city to do
Rosalie, we've
to
been
help
down.
them maintain, what is it that we need to do? I guess, why does it become the neighbor's responsibility?
I'm not
to keep-
saying it's the neighbor's
To
responsibility.
keep them within their permit, their legal permit that they've agreed, you have given them through the city, through the council.
Several years ago. And we're trying to do our best to see how we can change that, Rosalie.
And see,
It's not this
yeah.
council that's given them the permit. They received that permission long time ago.
And my understanding was it should never have left the original owner's hands ever. That was part of the condition.
Well,
And so, and now who we've got in there in that business, it is not contained within those buildings.
we
It's
understand.
outdoors.
We understand and we know what that is. I'm asking you to do your part because we're working hard on this end legally to see what we can do. I'm asking you as a citizens to do what I've just invited you to do.
Thank
Mayor, I'll
you.
take the lead on that and make the contact. I'll see that it happens.
Thank you. Thank you.
May I ask one question?
Please.
What do you want us to accomplish by doing that?
Well, I think you go in as a group, there's strength in numbers. And
If he says,
I think it makes it very well known that, hey, it drives home the point that maybe there is a problem and maybe you sit down at the bargaining table and work with him and talk about the things that are, and troubling. And I'm just saying, rather than, we're coming to the middleman here, let's go right to the source as a group. I invite you to do that because we're working extremely hard on the legal aspect of it, the legal end of it. So please.
Hi, Scott Cassis, 160 East, 100 North. I have come to the city 3 or 4 months ago regarding the lighting of this business. It used to look like a couple months ago, a Utah State football game. They put up huge lights that created a nuisance in the neighborhood. I could see it a block away. And I have gone into the business owner and asked him, talked about him. And I never got to talk to the business owner directly. I've been in there twice. I just went as a citizen, trying to do exactly what you suggested. Now, the lights have gotten better over the month. I don't know if the city solved the problem, but I think his light pole fell over and that's what caused the lights to go out. But the lighting caused it. The lighting in the neighborhood caused an entire glow we could see for the whole neighborhood. But doing what you said, personally, I have gone into him. I think some of it, we've not gone as a mob, but we could go in as a nice group if that's what you think would help, and we will do that.
Certainly can't help, but
But
that
thank
can't
you.
hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
But I
can't
think
hurt.
we have, individually, we've been trying.
Thank you, Scott.
Hello, sir. Hello, council. Hello, everybody. My name is Ray Lake. I'm new to Hiram. Unlike many of you, I here 20 years and 12 years. My wife and I moved into 210 North, 100 East, adjacent and catty corner to the building about 9 months ago. So we're new. But my wife grew up here in Logan, and she always talked very fondly of Hiram. And so last year we bought a home, the Nielsen's home. Many of you probably know the Nielsen's, and it's a lovely home, and I love it, and I love Hiram already. A quick background: I'm a 20-year Army veteran, and my wife is currently in the Navy. She's serving out in Rhode Island right now. Hopefully she won't get deployed to the Middle East. But I've seen and heard the problems emanating from the business that's been mentioned. And I understand that the city council has its legal requirements. And Tony's a great city manager. I've been in Tony's office many times. He's a fantastic human being. I would like to just add my support. This is a solidarity statement for me. I'd like to add my support to Gary and the rest of my neighbors. As a new arriving member of Hiram, I'd like to show my solidarity and support. I'd be happy to help with co-joining with the business and coming up with a solution. The one thing I learned in the Army over 20 years is that solutions typically take coordination and understanding and compromise. And so I'd be happy to help Gary and the rest of my neighbors to figure out a solution with the support of the mayor and the city council. So again, I just wanted to say hello and to introduce myself, and on behalf of myself and my wife, Roseanne, Zan, and thank you for your time, sir.
Tell me your name again.
Ray Lake.
Ray Lake?
Yes, sir.
Ray, thank you and your wife for your service, first of all,
Absolutely, sir.
for protection of our country. And I think, you've heard our response, and we appreciate your being willing to be here tonight. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kayla Hawks, Dustin's wife at 166 North Center Street. And I just wanted to give a short, just adding to the concern. And I know everyone's kind of talked about all the same things, but one personal thing from where we live that has been a struggle, along with the noise and the light, is the smell pollution from the chemicals. That's been really hard because when I'm out doing yard work or with the kids, I get headaches from that chemical. And so that's really concerning. And I'm concerned for the workers too, because I've noticed they don't have any masks or things that are helping them. And they're right there, spraying all the time. So that's one of the big concerns that I have. But thank you for what you have looked into at this point. So thanks.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comment tonight?
My name is Riley Wynn. I live over on 706 East, 600 South, just on the south end of town here. I was going through the agenda and listened to one of the last meetings and talking about the Hiram City developing its own ambulance service, which, I think there's a lot of benefit to, creating that in-house, but at the same time, I think it's really important to do. I hope you guys have done, I'm assuming you guys have done a lot of research on how much it's going to cost, right? Because ambulance services are not cheap. Looking around and doing some of my own homework, it's obviously going to run us at least $500,000 to $100,000 plus. And our current, tax liability as citizens to the county is only $180,000. So my biggest concern in, going through the agenda is Hiram City is planning on, contracting out the paramedic. Whereas currently with Cache County, we receive a paramedic at every single call. That may or may not change, right? But we're still going to have some tax liability if we contract that out to neighboring cities. So for me, I have a hard time really kind of seeing the benefit if it's going to be more expensive. We might, but not guaranteed, but might potentially lose quality of care, especially we do have a lot of older residents in Hiram. They're putting in another, I think down here, 55 plus communities. So that's going to be the second one on the same block, right? And so I think that's something we really need to take into consideration, considering that, Cache County has already furnished all the funds and the money to build a station in the city, right? And so maybe be a hard time, or wouldn't be smart financially, in my opinion, to double dip. But at the same time, the most benefits can be the citizens that receive the care, while also at the same time making sure that we aren't going to raise taxes for something unnecessarily. So thank you.
Thank you, Riley. And I can guarantee you that the numbers have been gone through thoroughly and time again. So thank you for your comments. Any other comments?
I'm Shirlene Cooper, and I live to the east of the business at 155 North, 100 East. And I feel like I've got to speak up for Kyler because we have had a good relationship with him and I don't want to make trouble.
Who's Kyler?
Kyler Archibald, the owner of the business.
Okay.
And the longer it goes there, the more disturbed I get. And I feel like I have good enough relationships, I dare say. Kyler is getting beyond. And I've been to the point of doing that once or twice because the noise is really getting bad. Our house vibrates. I've sat out 2 or 3 times on the back patio with company and it is so noisy and they'll remark, where is that noise coming from? Or we can't even visit. We had to go in the house one afternoon. And Kyler's been concerned about the lighting, but he had some stealing going on back there of big reels of steel. And so he put those lights up and he did come to us and he said, is that too bright for you? And Dennis told him, yes, it is. He says the whole backyard is lit up. And that was when the 2 lights were going. Now, I don't know why they've turned the one off, but I'm kind of, if we're going to have stealing back there, I want some lights. I don't want it dark where people can steal us blind because it's right in our backyard too. So I want you to know that Kyler was concerned about that, but I really feel like they've come in and they started obeying the rules, but they've started really pushing the boundaries. And no business is going to stay status quo. They're going to want to get bigger and bigger, and I don't blame them, and they are. They're starting to move great big steel beams, and they drop stuff, and it scares you to death. But we do need to do something because it is getting bad. But I feel like with us, Kyler is workable, and maybe not that we want to go as a neighborhood and try, but he needs to know what's bugging us.
He sure does.
And so I just, it is getting to be a real issue, but I feel like he is workable and he's going to have to be if he's going to stay there amongst us residences.
Well, I'm glad you have a relationship where you can talk to him civilly and perhaps you should be the spokesperson when you go
Well,
as a
Dennis
group.
would probably be the better spokesperson. They sit out and visit for
Yeah,
hours.
you've got a good point. Yeah.
But
Well,
I do. Huh?
We nominate you.
thank you, sir.
Anyway,
Thank
that's
you. Any other comments this evening? Okay, let's close the public comment portion of the meeting. Thank you all for your heartfelt comments, and we do take them serious. We understand what you're going through, and we are working hard. It's not that we come and say, well, it's too bad they moved into that neighborhood. That's the way it is. So, thank you. Okay, let's go to scheduled delegations. What is that?
Yep. Tangential.
Well, before we do that, I'd like to move something on the agenda if I could. I'd like to, is Emily Webb here? Emily, would you come up, please? I'd like to move Emily's part on the agenda from way back on 11A right up to number 1, if I could.
You don't want to have my kids sit here all day. No, I'm
No,
just
we
kidding.
we want you to
It's my
take your
fault.
son and go home and make sure he gets his homework done.
Right? Do you have homework?
Yes, Emily. Emily Webb has been called to serve on the Hiram Planning Commission. And Emily, I'm just going to have you give us a 2-minute bio, and we really appreciate your willingness to serve our city. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I thank you guys for the opportunity to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'm really excited. Hiram's where I live. It's my home, and I hope it's my home for 20 years. I've been here for almost 7. So a little bit about me. I am a mother of 5 children. My oldest is 12, and my youngest is 2. I also serve on the Hiram City Youth Council, And I have a love for that and the youth in our community. They're amazing. So I've been married for 13 years. See, I forget too. So a couple different things about that. So, but I care deeply about maintaining the values of our community. So I'm very excited to be able to do this. Our city is unique and I love the small town feel, but I also understand that we need responsible growth here. Just because I moved here, I want other people to be able to also. But I also believe in good planning and balances of private property rights and economic development and community character. So I commit to doing the work and reviewing proposals carefully, doing my homework and listening respectfully to those in my community. So I look forward to working with city staff some more and fellow commissioners and help Hiram grow and thrive. So I'm excited and I thank you guys for that opportunity.
Thank you, Emily, and we would like to
Mr.
bring
Mayor,
you.
I make a motion to appoint Emily Webb as to a position on the Hiram City Planning Commission. Is that an alternate position? Is an alternate
Correct.
planning commission member?
Correct.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Emily. Okay, now we will go to item A. We have Sheriff Chad Jensen here. So he's here to present the Cache Sheriff's Report for 2025 and request approval of the 26 through 29 Cache County Law Enforcement contract. So Sheriff Jensen.
Well, thank you, Mayor. It's always nice to come before the councils. I do enjoy coming to all the council meetings and getting to meet the council members and interact with the city staff and create good relationships like I think we've always had here in Hiram. So just, I'll give you a little background on what contracting is. So we got some new faces on the council. But what contracting is with the sheriff's office is everybody in here pays property tax. And property taxes get collected by the county, and those funds at the county, they go to fund my operation at the sheriff's office, and those funds pay the jail and investigations and the building and the grounds and the civil department and all the things that are required by the county and by me as the sheriff is elected. There's certain things that I have to do by state statutes, and that's what the property taxes fund. And property taxes do fund patrol services, but they're pretty limited if there's not contracting. So what contracting is above and beyond all those things that your property taxes pay for. The contracting pays for additional patrol. We have 3 patrol cars that are stationed in Hiram. You get extra hours of service. The response times are faster. You get a face-to-face. You get to know your deputies a lot more. And what you get with contracting is you get everything from the sheriff's office, all 147 deputies. If you needed that many, and I hope you never need the 147 of us all here at one time, but that's there if you need it. So that's really what the contracting does. It's just above and beyond what your property taxes are paying for. And Hiram's been great to work with, and I know they care greatly about their community because they're very involved with this contracting process. And you guys have contracted for quite a few hours to get 3 cars, and you want that presence and that response time here in Hiram, and I think that's fantastic. So with that, I'll go into some numbers. They're kind of boring, but I'll give you some numbers anyway. So in 2024, we responded to 1,897 calls for service. My deputies did in Hiram. And this year, we're about 8 months in, so 445. We'll be at about that same number, maybe a couple hundred higher than we were last year. If Hiram's anything, which is great, and there's been a ton of growth, which is amazing, but Hiram stays pretty steady year after year after year. We don't see huge numbers in swings of calls for service or what we need to respond to. It just kind of grows slowly with what your population's doing, so which has been fantastic. Well, let me back up. Total incidents was 1,897, and we'll be a couple hundred above that if we just average out the first 8 months. You'll be a couple of hundred above the 1,897. Hiram's currently contracts for 5,640 hours. In 2024, we did 7,274 hours. And in 2025, will be about the same number, 7,051. Now, that is a few more hours than you contract for, but I don't worry about that too much. A lot of that can be taken up with tax dollars, and a lot of those are just one big incident can gobble up a lot of hours. And you've had a couple of big incidents here in Hiram this year that required a lot of manpower and a lot of special services. And those hours are reflected in there, but that's not what you're paying for. You're just paying for what your contract rates are for. And that's really why the contracting is good. You're not having to pay for all those other services if they are needed here. So we've done things a little bit different in the last few years. We used to just do year-to-year contracts and everything kind of stayed the same. Hiram has been by far the best city to work with for me, is because your hours have always stayed very consistent and they didn't go way over where I had to worry too much about how many hours were being served and how many not. Some of the cities were falling way behind in the total number of hours paid for, but the number of hours that were provided. So the last 4 or 5 years, I spent a lot of time with these other cities, slowly working them up in their hours of service to get closer to what they're paying for. And I haven't really touched what our cost per hour is to the cities. And that's what, with this next cycle, is I really got to start working on getting up what I charge you an hour. It's a pretty significant increase, I guess. But so of our wages and our cost and gas and cars and people and deputies all cost more money. And that's the piece that I really haven't addressed the last 3 years. But I will never come to any of the cities, Hiram included, and say, we're going to fix all your hours at one time. We're going to fix this hourly rate at one time. I would never dump all that on the cities at one time. And that's why I've worked with some of the other cities to get their hours up to where they are. And when we get square with that, now it's time to start working on the hourly rate. So that's what the increase is moving into this next contract cycle. So currently, Hiram's paying $56 an hour, and it'd be a $4 an hour increase per hour for the next 3 years. So that'd be through your 28, 29 contracts. Also on top, and I don't know, maybe some of you remember this, last year, I think it's about August, we also took on your ordinance enforcement officer. It was kind of a pilot program to see how that would work. And Jeff's still with us. He's doing a great job. We're working on some mayor reports so we can give a good report to the mayor and the city council about the work that he's doing for you in your city. He's contracted for 10 hours a week. And he's doing that and then some. So I don't hear, it's kind of a weird thing because he's working 100% for Hiram and doing all your ordinance work. And I think you guys, if there's complaints or praise with the work he's doing, it's probably coming to your office and not necessarily to me. And the mayor and I had a good discussion about this the other day, and I think we've got a pretty good understanding how that would work. So we're happy to keep doing that. I think the contract that we did in with Hiram in August, that runs through your contract year, which would be the end of June. And I think at that time, if it's something you wanted to continue with, we could have that discussion. But I think the mayor's report is important so you guys can see the work that he's doing, and if that's something that you'd like to continue with. Okay, that's kind of it in a nutshell. The contract is still with the county attorney's office, and that's not going to change the numbers. That's just to make sure that I didn't miss some crazy state code that is there somewhere. And I would certainly hope that you would give that to your attorney so we're all on the same sheet of music. And I'm not asking for the contract to get approved or signed tonight. I just want the city council and the mayor to know what's being proposed for the next contract cycle.
Great.
And I'll take any questions that anybody has for me.
Yeah. Questions?
Except from Steph. I won't take comments from Steph.
We really appreciate what you're doing. We feel like we have great coverage in the city. I have noticed an increase in visibility, which I appreciate personally. And I've also met with your officers, each one of them deputies, and I'm grateful for the good personalities and the individuals. They want to serve. And
They do.
They're here and they're do it because they love their work. So thank you for everything you're doing.
Yeah, can I just give a little comment on the star deputies? And the cities are important, and this position is important for me as the sheriff, and who I look forward to promoting and doing different things in the office as our deputies' careers go by. But it means a lot to be in the city, and they learn so much on how to deal with city administrations, how to deal with mayors, how to deal with citizens. The deputies who aren't assigned to a city, they're out and about and they do great work, but they see different people every day. They never really truly get the gist of what it means to be in a community and have to deal with the same 4 or 5 families or 4 or 5 people that are causing problems. But the last 6 or 7 sergeants that I've promoted through my office have all been Hiram deputies. And it's not that I did anything great with them. It's what they learned from being here and the way they test, the way they interview, and all the things they have to do to go through the process to get promoted. It's the work that's coming out of what they're doing in Hiram. And that says a lot about what you let them do, the communications they have, and it's making their careers great. So thank you for that.
So just a comment, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Sheriff, but I was reviewing a report today on calls to service, and Hiram had 343 for the year. But I looked at the other towns. I looked at North Logan and Smithfield and obviously Logan, significantly higher. And I looked at, I just reviewed Hiram, and I thought, here we are, the number 3 smallest or largest city, if you will, in the valley, and yet our calls to service was one of the lowest.
It is. I think a lot of that has to do with the deputies being here. Now, Hiram's not the biggest. They're not the biggest city in the county, but the deputies get to work closely with the citizens, and on the report, the visibility helps a lot. And I'm not mocking the way other agencies do the reports, but if you look down at those reports, they're making case numbers for things that we don't. We don't make a case number every time we pass out a sticker or a challenge coin. The numbers that you get from us are the actual numbers and the real things that happen in Hiram. And a lot of that goes really to the citizens who live here. They're not causing all the grief as other cities are experiencing. If Mayor can see, I mean, you look at the calls for service. A lot of the calls that we have here are nuisance type calls. We don't have a lot of felony calls. We don't have a lot of domestic violence calls. We have a few drug calls, but no different than anywhere else in the valley. But that's a testament to the people who moved to Hiram and live in Hiram that dictates the work that we do. So that is Hiram City being Hiram City, and that's fantastic.
Yeah. We do have a rogue peacock that's running through the town that has been on the loose, and if Kurt Lindley was here, he would tell you some wonderful tales about catching it. But
I've got a few rogue ones in my house in Paradise too. So
yeah, thank you, Sheriff. We appreciate what you do.
thank you. I'll get as soon as I get the contract back from them, Mayor, I'll get that to you, and you can review it at your leisure.
Thank you.
Okay, and if you don't mind, I'll excuse myself and let you have the rest of your meeting.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
So will this be on the agenda again to approve the contract when we have it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, next is Jeff Hines with Enbridge Gas, talking about a regulator station and the high-pressure gas feeder line, seeking site approval for upgrades to the district regulator station located at 388 West, 300 North, and high-pressure gas feeder line from the district regulation station to 4650 South, 1200 West. Jeff?
I'm Jeff Hines with Enbridge Gas. I'm actually a construction manager over our high-pressure construction unit. Andrew is our engineer and project manager on the project, and he will give a lot better description of what's going on there than I will. So I'll let him speak to what we've got going on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Andrew Asplin with the engineering and project management. So in Hiram, just north of Hiram in Cache County, north of the JBS beef plant, an RNG, which is renewable natural gas producer, is planning to add gas to our high pressure system. And we are building an interconnect in Cache County to receive that renewable natural gas. And a pipeline from that interconnect facility, just north of the JBS beef facility, down 200 west in Hiram and across 300 north to our existing Hiram facility on the corner of 300 north and 400 west, I believe.
So that's just on the north side of JBS, on the north side of the tracks, is that correct?
That's where our interconnect facility is going
Okay,
in the county.
right,
Right. And then we're building,
Northeast of JBS.
yep,
yep.
all right.
So yeah, just north of JBS on the east side of the road there on 200 west or
Is that
12
the stuff they've already started?
They just started last week, I
Just
heard.
moving some dirt.
Yeah. So they're building that facility. What the dirt being moved right now is part of the RNG producers facility. We have to build our interconnect facility adjacent to their facility where we receive the renewable natural gas. We build a pipeline to that facility and we connect that pipeline to our existing facility that's on the corner of 400 West and 300 North. So what we're doing here in the city is we're upgrading the existing facility on the corner of 400 North and 300 North so that we can combine our two pipelines to receive that renewable natural gas. We're doing some blending of the natural gas to ensure that we're providing quality gas to the city and onto our pipeline system. And then, we're building a pipeline down 300 North and up 200 West. That's an 8-inch pipeline, high pressure feeder line.
I've got a couple of questions.
Please.
Why in the world are you going down 300 North? One of the busiest feeder lines in our city. Why don't you go down 4th West and then down 4th North?
Third west and fourth
No,
north.
you could go down 4th West and then 4th North. 300 North is a connector. It's a connector road that connects Nibley coming through. It connects everything from Hiram is coming a lot of times down that road. Why have you chosen 300 North as the line, the road to take that down?
Yeah, I don't, there's a couple of reasons. I think our existing pipeline already comes down 300 North. I think it's Main Street, but coming off of Highway 89, it follows that same alignment.
Do they have to be next to each other?
No, they certainly don't have to be next to each other. But it was at the time chosen as the best route for us. The street's wide, so we assume that there's plenty of space.
We'd sure like you to reconsider that because you will upset traffic that's already upset because of Hiram Dam. We can't, that road has gone away now. So everything comes down either the state highway or down 300 North. So now you're channeling everything onto the highway when that road goes under construction.
Yeah.
I really personally think you really need to go back to the drawing board and say, we've got to relook at where we take that line.
Yeah, another couple issues, which is why we prefer going up 200 West, is we have to do what's called a horizontal directional drill underneath the railroad tracks. And for that reason, we have to achieve a certain depth underneath those tracks, and we have to pull up so that we can serve a customer between the tracks in the Blacksmith Fork Canal that goes through that area. And in order for that bore to work out, we have to back up quite a ways down 200 North. Basically
200 West?
200 West.
Yes, 200 West. Sorry, there's a lot of names going on. So down 200 West, if you know the JBS, I think they have a couple buildings on the west side there, on the southwest corner of 400 North and 200 West. Our bore begins almost at where those buildings end. And so we have to back up quite a ways. So coming up 400 West and across 400 North would require us to backtrack back down 200 West so that we could do that bore underneath the tracks.
I still think there's a way to mitigate 300 North.
Yeah.
You'll be that will be a major sticking point for the community, for other communities, for traffic. I think it creates a major problem.
Right.
So on your plans to that point, your boring starts basically right at the south side, just at the south radius of the intersection there at 4th North. If you did just dug it, instead of starting the boring at the surface, if you dug an entry pit, then you could start that boring 2 or 3 feet deep, or 3 feet deep, or 4 feet deep, or something, and start the boring right at the intersection where you need to connect onto it, and still hit the exact same trajectory going underneath the railroad tracks.
I mean, I don't have the plans right in front of me, but there's going to be quite a bit of turns and stuff that we'd have to introduce into our design. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't have them right in front of me to see what you're saying.
Well, I'm looking at them, and it seems like I understand completely what you're saying, because you've got to be able to get that angle and get underneath the railroad tracks, and so that makes sense. But looking at your profile view, I think it, especially if you had the gas line coming down the south side of 400 North, kind of paralleling, they have an irrigation line there. If you were paralleling the irrigation line out farther into the roadway, I think it bears looking into to see what your trajectory going into the ground would be, and if you could just basically dig an entry pit and get to that elevation. Anyway, it certainly would be, I think, something feasible to look at. So, but I had some other questions, some concerns about some things, the engineering review, as well as city staff items.
Can I finish
ahead,
my
sorry.
thought, please?
Yeah, please.
So the other concern, tell me your name again, I'm sorry.
Andrew.
Andrew?
Yeah.
So the other concern that I have is with regard to the neighborhood at 300 North, 400 West currently,
Yes.
the noise.
Yeah.
And is now you're going to add an additional, exactly what's the apparatus that you're going to add at that site?
So at that site, and thanks for bringing this up, this has been something that's been a big talking point with the city, and we're happy to talk about it. We know that the station's noisy. As part of our project, the reason the station is noisy, first of all, is because of the high amounts of flow that go through it to support the city of Hiram. And because of certain engineering decisions that were made on a certain type of reg set, that's made it more noisy than it should be. And it's a reg set that we're not currently installing anymore. But it's something that, because we've installed it, we definitely want to address the issue of the noise. So because of the flow rates that are going through that station, one of the things we've done to significantly reduce those flow rates, part of this project, is JBS has a meter on the north side of the tracks, which is the largest meter that this station serves, currently on our IHP system, the intermediate high pressure system. So we are taking that meter set off of the IHP system, putting it onto our high pressure system, which that will reduce the station capacity by an average of like 25%, which should help quite a bit with the noise that's being produced by the station. Currently, because we know that does not help in the meantime, we've set up some temporary fencing walls with some sound insulation on them to reduce the noise. We've taken some noise tests at our station, and we fall within code from our noise test. So we've temporarily addressed that, and we think our upgrades to the station will permanently address that. In addition, long-term, there's another facility planned to go into Hiram on, I forget the highway.
165.
Yes, thank you. Highway 165. It's planned that over the next 10 years or something, at some point, we'll be building another facility out there, which will also reduce the load that this station has to support. So all of those will help reduce.
Is
noise
that
at the station.
temporary sound wall up now?
It's currently up, yeah.
Is it covering the gate, the gate that's on the south side?
So what it covers is we have a building on the site which houses the regulators for
But that's not on the south side. That building is on the.
Yeah.
It's within the confine.
Yeah, so that building, there's some piping that exits the building, and that piping is what we believe is producing most of the noise. It's exiting the building and reverberating through that piping. So we've set up the sound mitigation walls around that exterior piping,
Okay.
and that has significantly reduced the noise at the fence wall of the property.
Can I ask you to do one thing?
Yeah.
Will you walk across the street and ask Carl Lundahl, who lives on that corner, to come out and see how he feels about the sound?
Yeah.
He's better than any decibel reader you'll ever find.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Um,
What we've done though has brought it into compliance with the city code.
Okay,
And-
I understand compliance with city code. I'm just asking if you'll go down and let the neighbor know
Yeah.
what you've done and have him come outside and say, how does this sound to you? Let him know you're working on it.
Right.
What are
Um,
the decibels right now? Sorry, Steve.
No, go ahead.
Mayor.
Yeah, we took several decibel readings all around the facility. And I know that city code has us between, I think, 7 a.m. to like 10 p.m. It needs to be below 75 decibels or 75 decibels. And for the M1 site, overnight, it's supposed to be below 70 decibels. The highest reading we took was 68 decibels. Some were down in, I think, the low 50s. And I'd say the majority were probably high 50s, low 60s.
Because when this came in, I mean, Craig and I were on the council, and we were told it wasn't going to be anywhere close to that many decibels.
Yeah, it
So
was supposed to be a quiet
It was
facility.
going to be a quiet facility, and it's anything but quiet.
Right.
So I don't know what you guys have to do, but you guys have to fix it.
If
It's got to be fixed.
If it's reverberating through the pipes, have you looked at just insulation wraps, sound mitigation right around the pipes if it's reverberating on the pipes?
Yeah, I mean, so we believe that the project that we're doing will do a significant amount to reduce the noise. We have looked at certain types of on-pipe insulation.
Okay.
Those are not often favored by many at our company because adding anything to the pipe can produce a cathodic protection issue where we're basically making our pipe rust away by putting something on the pipe. So those aren't often favored at our company. We're looking at other solutions. We're looking at other station redesigns for certain stations like this. It's on a list of stations that are loud. And we're trying to do stuff.
Okay, so Andrew, what's your contact information?
Would you?
You have all of that? Okay, wonderful. So you hear the emotion in what we're telling you? It's a major problem for the neighbors down there.
Right.
And we want you to personally get involved in mitigating the noise.
Yeah, we're actively trying. It's on our list. It is the first thing from the city that we are trying to address.
I'll tell Carl Lindahl you're coming.
Yeah. I'd love
What's
to.
taking so long to address it? It's been in there, what, 3 years at
3 years
least?
or so.
It was installed late 2024, I believe.
That's correct.
So late 2024, so not even a year and a half. And I understand that's still a long time to be dealing with noise issues. And so what's taking so long? I'm not trying to make excuses for why it's taking so long. The previous engineer who was in charge of designing the station, he's left the company. I think communication was tried to be funneled through him after the station was made loud, that it was found to be loud. And I think a lot of that communication was lost because he left the company. I've only learned about it in the past 3 months. And we've been trying to address it. We started with Matt, the city engineer. That's whenever I first learned about it. I started bringing it up to my management. We're trying to address it with this project. But I've only known about it for 3 months. I think some communication has been lost to answer that question.
Okay. So fourth west, fourth north for the pipe.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a really difficult ask.
Who do
for
we
us.
need to talk to? Do we need to go over that? Because you're gonna create an incredible bottleneck for our city. And there's an option. You can mitigate that by going right down fourth west, down fourth north. And as Craig stated, you still have ample room to,
I'm not a gas line designer, but
Yeah.
it's worth looking at.
yeah, it's worth looking.
I'm not going to say they have ample room. I'm saying it's.
If you have a question, there's a point.
I just wanted to advocate a little bit for Third North. If there's anything we can do, I mean, a lot of money, time and effort's gone into designing that pipeline and working with the developer Green Gas. I mean, we're not really making money on this. We're working with Green Gas on this, but I'd like to hold it to schedule as much as we can. If there's anything we can do with traffic control, any special traffic control requests, we consider. I just think it would certainly take a lot of extra time and money to redesign at this point. If there's anything we can do.
You can go down 4th West and down 4th North. That's what you can do. It really, I feel really strong about that, just simply because I see the traffic congestion that we have, because Hiram Dam is not an exit anymore. Everything channels down the highway or 3rd North to exit Hiram. And now you're shutting 3rd North down, basically. And I just think, it's poor planning on your part, in my opinion, because that's a main artery. That's a connector.
So if I can address just a couple thoughts with that. Steve and I both live pretty close to that neighborhood. And when they've already gone down several blocks of 3rd North when they're bringing the other high pressure line in there. The traffic control was well maintained. It was a pretty big operation, but I think that line was mostly on the south side of the road. This one's hugging the northern side of the road. From a constructability standpoint, that's not the traffic control. I think they do very well with that. Mayor, I'm actually more concerned with a couple of other factors, but because I think a lot of that, they can still maintain two-way traffic through the construction because it's on the north side of the road and it is a wider road. And, when they were doing the other sections of the road out there, they put temporary asphalt down to make sure that traffic could be maintained and things through the corridor when they're bringing that line in, along the highway from way out west or whatever there. So I do think that, going down 4th West, there's a lot of open area there. There's a lot less traffic, but from being able to constructability, this is a workable alternative.
It's workable,
Traffic,
but
so.
it creates, I think it just creates added inconvenience to traffic, quite honestly, to residents, from people who are already, I don't know if you've been on a day down at the Maverick getting onto the highway. Sometimes you wait 2 lights to get through the light. And now you're crippling that. So now I can see the congestion that we're going to see in our downtown area through our schools and down the highway. And so I guess I'm just thinking of the citizens of this city, that the inconvenience that is going to be imposed on them when there, in my opinion, is a very suitable alternative.
Right.
With less traffic for you, and certainly takes the pressure off of 3rd North and going right up out to the Highway 165. So I just am expressing that it's a concern for the mayor of this city.
Can I make a comment, please? As I read this, I had those same concerns yesterday as I reviewed them. Then I called our public works for our roads and our water, and I said, hey, any concerns? I'd like to propose moving this to 4th West and 4th North, and he said that's a great idea. This is a private enterprise that you're part of, and they're basically cutting a swath again down through our city right of ways. We have sewer line, water, we have fiber optics there, we have a pressurized irrigation. There's a lot of things in the road there, and both he and I felt like it would be in our best interest. And I echo the mayor in this, that I think it will have a less impact on our citizens. As a city, we're not making money on this. This isn't, but you guys and the company down there doing this are. Okay, maybe you aren't, but as a city, we're not. But we're saying you're asking to permission to put something on our roads, and we'd rather have it in a different location. And I see the benefits to moving it, and I think they outweigh the current plan. I'd like to make that recommendation to you as well. I hope that the voice of our council means something to you. I did see one other thing that I wanted to throw out, and that's outside the building, you wanted to put, see if I can find it in my notes, a regulator valve on the outside of the wall.
It's a valve set.
Yes. And instead of putting that on the south side, if you go the north, I was just going to say, what's the possibility? I know you don't want to put it inside your own facility, but, pardon me?
Nothing.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
I would say there's a piece of property there that I don't know what you think of this, but I would propose, seeing if that landowner would let you buy a right of way and put it on the north of your existing fenced area, and then it wouldn't be out in our right of way, and would then no longer be. I know you want 5 feet within a fenced area, correct? So you can work on it.
5 feet from a fence.
Yeah. So if you went to the north, I'd just say put that on the north and be inside a piece of property that you could maybe
Yeah.
purchase. So.
Design wise, I think putting it on the north side of this particular facility requires massive amounts of unnecessary piping to the facility. Because currently the existing line that comes down 300 north comes in from the south side.
Sure.
And so routing that pipe around the facility and then back to the front of the facility is hundreds of feet of pipe.
Okay, I see it. I thought you just needed to get inside the facility. I thought that's where the connection would be.
The connection is basically we're bringing the 2 pipelines in. The 2 pipelines are being metered and controlled together. So they're not becoming one pipeline. There's still 2 pipelines that are fused within the facility. And so that happens at the front of our facility, and wrapping, it's not a matter of you can tie it in on the backside versus the front. It's a matter of you'd have to bring the pipe around the facility still. So I'd
like to see you not put that out in our right of way.
So I speak to that because I had those same concerns. And there, I think in the review comments sent back from the city, there was schematic of, well, could this be moved and slid inside of the fence? The way that I think it was originally drawn, it was like, okay, you can't put it right on the fence or split it that way. But if I read like what you said, 5 foot from a fence, is there limitations on distances between elbows or valves or fittings and things that couldn't be slid 2 feet farther to the north to get 2 or 3 feet? 2 feet would give you your 5 foot from the fence. 3 foot sliding at 3 foot would give you your clearance requirements. And so I'm just wondering if you could compress the length of that system, because it seems like it was all elongated out to be able to put the valve cluster, the valve set out together inside the in the right of way outside of the fence, but it seemed like it didn't need to be that long. And
Yeah.
so that drawing that was sent back, it was basically just taking exactly what you had, shifting it north to where the valve cluster was inside the fence, but it didn't shrink it down at all. It was still that same length as you had shown from it being outside the fence. And so
Right.
if you elongated it to make it outside the fence, can you shorten it a little bit? And then seems like everything would fit inside the fence.
Yeah, so we've looked at this design. Matt brought this issue up months ago whenever we first made contact with him. We looked at the design. We looked at the tolerances that we have within our Enbridge standards in order to move it within the fence. And we did not have the space. We looked it over. We looked at several different placements of the valves, and we could not find the space to put it in that south east corner
Southeast corner.
of the property. And for that reason, we decided to put the valve set in the right-of-way in the decorative gravel that we have installed in front of our facility. And I'd also add that these valve sets are very common for Enbridge Gas to have installed in roadways.
Well, I understand that, but just with it going perpendicular to the right of way, and the response back to the city's comments was Well, you can still put utilities underneath it, but there's a concrete pad on top, and it's, I don't know, is it 12 feet? I don't know what the length of that concrete pad is. I don't have it in front of me, but basically it's taking up that whole northern section from about the edge of the road, clear out close to the, and there's the other gas lines coming through there, which if we didn't have the valve set there, you could expose the other lines and be able to install another city utility through there. But with this cutting perpendicular across there, there's no way to bore underneath it because we can't come down and identify where the pipes are through the concrete pad. We can't open trench cut it because there's a concrete pad up there that's all got all these valve boxes and everything's all clustered inside of that. And so it's essentially, the way I'm interpreting it, and our city department heads as well, even though you would allow it, it's really infeasible to get any utilities underneath or through that same area where this valve cluster is set.
Yeah, and I'll add the allow part. It is not preferred by any option, but it was just to address the comment by the engineer that was made, because he said we wouldn't allow it, and so I thought I'd clarify that. By far, it is not what we would suggest doing in any means. So why we chose that location, I'd like to go into that, is because just to the west, in this area, there is a small basin that was set up as a retention basin of some sort. I'm not exactly sure because I wasn't involved in the design.
Okay.
That basin, we assumed that no utilities would necessarily want to install underneath that basin. So we chose to be in line with that basin. And then we believe there's about 3 or 4 other corridors that are anywhere from 7 to 8 to like 10 feet wide, where other city utilities could be installed that we wouldn't be blocking. At least from our surveys, it looks like in this particular right of way, there's several corridors to install throughout there. So while we do take up that space, we believe there's space for other utilities still. We don't think we're taking away from that. And then we also believe that we are in a place where other utilities, if they were eyeing that particular location, would not be ideal because of the basin as well.
So the basin, I read that response back and it's like, I'm trying to remember or understand when that facility was originally put in, what the basin is for. Is that stormwater from your gravel lined facility? I'm trying to understand where the basin came from. I don't remember, but if
I'm not
that's what
sure.
it is, if it's your stormwater basin for this facility, it should be inside the fence. It's kind of atypical to put a private property stormwater out in the right of way. And I don't know where that got approved or whatever happened with that. But if it's for the city streets and things, then if the city needs to move it or adjust it for something else, it's accommodating runoff from city streets. That's the city's responsibility. And so I don't even know where that pond came from, to tell you the truth.
Sure, and
But-
I don't necessarily either.
Okay.
I don't know if it was. at
But
the
a
request of
storm
the
pond
city or
is a
not.
lot easier to address and mitigate and deal with than this valve cluster. And I'm not thinking in the next 5 or 6 years or whatever, or even 10 or 15 years. I'm thinking 30 to 40 years down the road, when we're looking at trying to come in and say, you know what, we got a lot of people out here and we're trying to put a 30-inch diameter water line in or something, or in a much larger sewer line or something to that effect. And at that point in time, that real estate becomes pretty critical.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. So if we're talking about timelines, then I'd also like to add another piece to this, is that the facility that would go in East Hiram would eliminate the need for a lot of these upgrades long-term. And so certain aspects of what we're building could be taken away and remodeled in order to accommodate that new facility. Because how it's currently set up, gas is only coming from our new pipeline into this facility. And so we'd have to adjust the piping that is what that valve set supports in order to allow gas to flow out to a new facility on the east side of Hiram.
You're talking the 165, Highway
Yes.
165 facility?
Yeah, so if that facility is built, we're anticipating that certain aspects of this valve set and this existing facility will also need to be changed down the line too. And we're expecting that to be a 10-year project or something.
Okay,
So-
that's important to know. So there was another item that I discussed with some of the city staff regarding a number of comments that were responded to, and it's things like the pavement patching, cutting this line right down the driving lane of 300 North is certainly not optimal. When you guys came down the highway, the rest of it, you did a good job patching, they did a good job patching things back in. I don't know if this project has the same budget and same specifications, but a lot of the comment responses were, well, we talked with our contractor and they will do that. But it's not shown on the drawings. It's not indicated anywhere on here if you're leaving a 3-foot section of asphalt to the edge of the road between your trench and the edge of the road, that's just asking for asking for that road to come unraveled. So the comment was to basically take that asphalt out and pave to the existing edge of road. And that's all we're asking is but there's nothing on the drawings on the pavement repairs or anything that would indicate that. And so the question is, how do you say, yeah, we're for sure going to deal with things like that when it's not on the plans?
Yeah. So on the plans, actually, our pavement restoration and what I discussed with both Cache County and with Hiram City was that we'd be using a APWA 2017 standard for this. And we show a detail in our asphalt repair, which is that standard. And that standard has us extending out quite a bit from our original trench. It's something like an additional 7 feet from center. So we believe that standard shows us extending to the edge of the pavement. And I don't know if the city or the engineer who reviewed this necessarily considered that. But we believe what we're showing and where our pipeline alignment is, we're planning to replace basically a lane of traffic that's going in and to the edge of the asphalt. We also have our contractor here with us, the same contractor who did the previous project, and they're just wrapping up a project in Logan City right now. And they're one of our top tier contractors. They do excellent work. And we're very happy to work with them. We're excited that they're on this project. And we think they'll do a great job once again.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one more comment if I could really quick.
Yeah.
If you go how you currently have it laid out, you cross 12 to 13 different landowners in doing that. If you go from 4th West to 4th North, you really only affect 8 to 9 different property owners. And it looked to me like you get down where you can even get on JBS's property, and that's a big chunk of it. And so, that you're affecting fewer of our residents if you go that direction. And I would like to just say, you should come to us and say, hey, we're going to request some, I don't know what the term would be, but real estate so we can run a pipeline, and we would like to give you or not give you, maybe that's wrong. We'd like to advise you that the property we want to allow you to go through would be that 4th North and 4th West. I think that just works better for us as a community.
Are you saying like an easement for our pipeline?
Well, you basically run your property or your pipeline through the property. The city has an easement right there for our own utilities.
Right. Yeah.
So,
so I'll also add, like, our initial communication with Matt began probably 8 months ago, where we were discussing this same pipeline alignment.
Sure.
And it's difficult for us a year after design has started, and having started initial conversations with Matt, maybe I could look up those emails to show how far back that goes, to change our design at the last second as we're ready to begin construction after we spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on survey and different things, to now, days before we're ready to mobilize, to adjust that alignment to meet the need based on.
I just see we have some real critical. I didn't really think about what the mayor was saying about I did know that it was one of our main arteries into town, so I thought, oh, that's pretty significant. But where we have traffic being routed from the dam closure, this becomes really a big headache for us as a city.
Right. And I'll add that our contractor does top-notch work, like we've seen on the other parts of 300 North. Like, if there's things that we can do to make the road usable, we'll make them happen. But we are so far down our project timeline that adjusting an alignment right now hinders
We're
us
just asking
significantly.
you to consider it.
Yeah.
We know your contractors are good. We know you do good work. We don't question that at all.
Right.
All we're asking you to do is to consider the impact you're having on our residents.
Yeah.
It's significant.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's not.
What?
As far
By
as
no means do I think it's not.
Craig,
I think you're
his
completely right.
comments on the asphalt. I don't even know the number. There's got to be 200-300 trucks a day go up and down that road.
Right.
And it doesn't take long once you break a road. That road is, you get heavy semis, that road's going to be broken in 2 years. So I don't know how we can alleviate that. But as soon as that road breaks, every time a semi goes over any of them cracks, everybody on that road, myself included, I'm on that road.
Mm-hmm.
It rattles your house. I've
Right.
got a friend who's had a deer head fall off her wall.
Right.
So to Craig's point, it's got to be done well. So it's got to be done.
Yeah.
I remember looking at it on the plans, but is this on 300 North, the pavement restoration detail? There's like 3 different details, 2 in pavement and 1 just in just a grade with no asphalt.
Right.
Is this the one that, are you looking at, and I could go back and look, but it's easier to ask than find it again on the plan, but is this the one where you're backfilling the trench above the pipe zone material was flowable fill, or is this the one that shows native material with just a bituminous concrete patch at the top?
Yeah, so our 2 details, one of them shows our pipe backfill. I believe it's the detail on the bottom left corner.
Bottom left corner, okay.
And that will primarily be used for installing the pipe, backfilling the pipe up to the flowable fill. And then from the flowable fill up to the asphalt, we'll be using the APA 2017 standard. That's the right detail on the drawing.
Okay, so you'll be putting, the right detail, sorry, this is getting into the weeds, but Kate's got some specific questions and concerns about this that I told them we would talk about. It says compacted backfill to this level before, gosh dang my eyes. There we go. Compacted backfill to this level before making the second pavement cut and remove the surface. Okay, so then it's got flowable fill allowed only to the top of the existing subgrade. And then I don't know.
Is this stuff we could ask online
Yeah,
after the
well,
meeting or get
yeah,
one-on-one with Kate?
Just there's a lot of the responses to these comments that, as I said, the contractor's going to do it this way, but it's not in the documents. And I think that the city's ask on that would be that provide that, if not incorporate on the plans, to provide a written specification that says, even if it's to those items, that this is how these situations will be addressed and managed, and that even in a PDF format, add that to the plan that refer to such and such specifications, and make that a legal incorporated part of the document, so that if there is any questions about that, it's not, well, our contractor said this and
Sure.
the foreman was sick that day and somebody else came in or whatever, and now we're not going to go back and do it. So
Right.
that would be a request that I would have is.
Can we
is
put
to-
these in let's put our questions together, and I think Andrew would be willing to meet with us and answer any questions with regard to the plans and as they're drawn up, would you not, Andrew?
Sure.
I know that Kate has questions, but I'm not sure this is the setting to dive into the weeds on those. So do you have anything else at this point, Andrew?
Yeah, and to the point of a lot of things were listed as we'll communicate those with our contractor. Like I consider some of them small updates to our package that also could be they could be added as conditions to meet by the city. Say for example, I think one of them was listed a 14-to-1 ratio as you mill and overlay the asphalt. So that could be added as a condition is what kind of envisioned, and I don't know which is preferred, that we would meet, but we fully communicated those. We plan to meet them, and we plan to work with city inspectors to ensure that the city's requirements are met.
We'll put a list of concerns and questions together, and we'll go through Tony, get a hold of you, and talk further on. Matt is no longer with the city, so we're going through his notes and trying to find communication that was made. So we appreciate you being here. Any other concerns? You've heard our concerns, and I hope they are meaningful to you. And we're happy to work with you the very best we can, and we'll go back with you with questions that we do have.
Yeah. I don't think any other concerns. Just I'll add again, updating the pipeline alignment is a months to a year long endeavor for us through design, and it's a hundreds of thousands of dollars change just on the design process, and that's not changing anything on construction. So it's a very difficult change for us to pursue at this point. And we feel like we've done due diligence with Matt at the time. So thanks for
I
having
make a
us.
motion to continue the Enbridge Gas District Regulator Station and high pressure gas feeder line to establish a city contract or city Enbridge work session to address some of these items that have been discussed in our council meeting tonight.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Okay, we'll move to 10A, Resolution 26-09, a resolution amending the Hiram City Soccer Fields rental fee and deposit schedule. Robert, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for having me, Council. I am looking to, right now, we've had our agreement with South Cache, we've had South Cache Soccer using our facilities since the 1980s. I have invited them to be here, and if they're happy to come up, Jake's more happy to come up and speak to it, some of his, to the organization of South Cache Soccer. South Cache Soccer has been using our facility since 1980s. I am looking to adjust our agreement, and I've talked to Jake about this, to make it where each home team or group that is using the our Hiram soccer facility, that the comp teams are paying $100 per team. Looking to cover our costs as a city, and then just making sure that things are taken care of more or less. Yes.
When you talked to us last time, you talked about the $100, and
Correct.
you said you called Providence.
Correct.
And you said that they had been charging $100 for some time. That was how they kind of started, and they were thinking of raising that.
I don't recall them saying that they're going to raise it. I did talk to Shayla from Providence City, and they do currently charge $100 per comp team that uses the facility as a home field. And then I also learned that Shayla also charges $5 per recreation child from the city as well.
So I would just like to propose, instead of when they up their rates and all of a sudden, it's time for us to follow because the cost of things have went up, and all of a sudden, a year within them starting, all of a sudden, we want to raise it to 150 or something like that. I'd like to propose that we go after it like $125, not charge the recreational leagues, but just start out where we know we're probably in line with some of the other cities. And I mean, they started quite a few years ago, but that's just something I'd like to throw out.
Robert, I had a question about on the memo.
it says Hiram City implement a fee of $100 per competitive team per season.
Correct.
And then $300 league deposit. If you jump down to the resolution,
Mhm.
The paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's about 6 down. It says, whereas the Hiram City Parks Department is recommending setting a home team fee per athlete per season. Is that not the $100, but the $5? I was
That would be.
confused. That's the $5? Okay.
So, and I'm not sold or I mean, I'm not completely stuck on the $5 rec fee. I don't, my goal here is not to cause an undue hardship to organizations that use our facilities and that they have been using our facilities since the 80s. My goal in this is just to attempt to try to recoup some cost and take care of staff.
Yeah, and I would agree. So are you talking $100 per team competitive fee plus $5 per child?
Per rec.
Okay, but
Recreation child.
In the resolution, am I reading it right when it says home team fee per athlete per season on that 6?
That was what I emailed you about that.
Okay.
The Hiram
on
City Parks
trying to
Department.
track that.
Yeah, I think that's,
I don't know if that's just something that got
confusing.
left in there, but because it seems totally different from
Yeah.
what the actual agreement is. And so
I think it's just the wording that needs to be changed there and maybe take out
it's
the per
the 1,
athlete
2,
or
3, 4, 5 whereases down.
I see it.
the second line,
Like
home
trying to
team
track
fee
that.
per athlete per season. And then down lower, home team fee per
Yes,
team
so-
per season.
So the intent is to have each comp team pay $100 and then the recreation pays the organization pays $5 per rec child.
Sorry, that's, you know.
Go ahead.
So in that first one is just for recreation. And then when you read in a home team, the per team per season for competitive league play.
Oh,
So that's, there's the
okay,
recreation is
okay,
the
for
$5
recreation.
because that's what Providence, I mean, that was similar
Okay,
to what another city was. And then the competitive league play. So that's why there's 2.
okay. And it does say for recreation league after that and then for competitive league after
Yeah,
that.
and then if
Okay,
you look on
okay,
the list, it says recreation league,
okay,
$5 per athlete per season, and then on the competitive leagues, it just says $100 per team.
okay, okay. Thanks for that clarification. I was just a little confused by the
Rob?
Yes.
verbiage
So
there.
on top of that, they're gonna pay $20 an hour for
No.
practice, right?
No.
Is that?
No, that would, these 2 fees would be for leagues. If there's a tournament or if there's another program this is just for league play.
Okay. So how is for recreation? How is that home team fee? How do you identify home teams through South Cache Soccer? Because they have, I mean, do they have a certain number of teams that their home team is Hiram, or because they have teams from other communities? Nibley has a big field with Heritage Park out there, but Paradise often says, "Well, Hiram is our home." I know because when my
Right.
kids were playing soccer, do they identify which fields are the home field and coordinate that with you? So I'm just trying to make sure it's easy to define.
I'm going to invite Jacob to answer that question since it is his program. There is some honesty, honor system to it, but I'll let him speak to that.
Can I get your name?
Yeah, Jake Nesbitt. So I'm president of South Cache Soccer. Been in the position now, going almost 2 years here, but and I don't know how much you're aware of what South Cache Soccer is and who we are. We're a nonprofit, completely volunteer, and so our whole purpose when we were created was to create an opportunity to play soccer at very low cost. And so our whole focus is staying low on cost. Originally, when it first was created, it broke away from a club that was really pushing for high fees and that type of thing. And a group of that board said, that's not what we want to be. We want to be an opportunity for everybody, and that type of thing. And so that's how it was created. We have quite a few different programs within South Cache Soccer to provide funds and for families that are low income. We pay their fees, that type of thing. We service the entire south side of Cache Valley, including Logan. We also have what's kind of talked about, we have the competitive side as well. That's not a huge component of our program, but it's something that we do provide. And we, again, on that same front, we have opportunities for kids that are low income. We pay their competitive fees a lot of the times as well. The competitive fees can be substantial if anyone has kids in soccer. There's two other clubs in the valley, really. There's Aggies FC and Northern Utah United. An average player per season is paying over $1,000 a year to play soccer at those clubs. On average, for South Cache soccer teams, they're paying $400 or less. So we don't have any club fees associated. We don't have any coaching fees, anything like that. We do offer camps and that type of thing. And so everything we do is about just keeping our costs low and running the program as efficiently as possible. And then so kind of then going to kind of some of your questions, the $100 fee for the competitive teams, that's pretty standard across all the cities that we work with. We do have a agreement with some of the cities for the home team fee. I will say we haven't been charged that. We have it on record that there is the ability for the city to charge us that. Shaler hasn't charged us that in years, and so we don't actually pay that. But it is there if there's some issue, and I think that's kind of where that's at. But we actually don't get charged that, and so.
So can you identify, I mean, through your program, you have specific teams that are assigned as Hiram Soccer Fields as their home team. So that's not something that is like, you know, and I don't have any problem with, you know, with the honor code or whatever saying, yeah, this is the number of teams or this is the number of players that are assigned there. I just wanted to see if it's something that your system tracks or can account with or whatever.
Yeah, and we have, I think right now, I think we have 35 home teams in Hiram that would be consisting of almost entirely Hiram kids. I think that we have 305 kids from Hiram on those teams. And that designation of home team, that's public knowledge. That's on our website, on our schedule. You can go see which teams are designated as the home team. Everyone registers to the city that they're at, and then we put them to those teams. There will be occasionally, we'll have a player from another team, another city that falls over because we're trying to balance the teams out or whatever. But primarily, yeah, the kids that are in a city are going to be, that's going to be their home field. So. Any other questions?
That's all I have.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah, the goal is not to, I think the program is great, and I'm not trying to create any undue hardship. My goal is just to try to cover some costs that our city is taking on by maintaining the fields, taking care of the trash. In the discussion, I did have a deposit. We haven't had a deposit on the field previously, and I know this was a concern. So I just wanted to get the council's input. If we're getting $100 per team, should we still put the responsibility of the trash on them, or should we take care of it? And whether or not what the deposit should cover.
I think we've probably been taking care of the trash all along, haven't we?
We have.
So here's my thoughts with this. I mean, the recreation league, and there's got to be a line where, you know, you like you say, you're in pickleball, and if people want to sign up to play pickleball or whatever it is, but so if there's, I mean, you know, when I was doing soccer, we had approximately eight athletes on our teams. There's 35 home teams. 8 to 10, whatever, you can even say 10 and make it easy. But if I'm doing my quick math right, and I might not be, that's $1,400 or so. I mean,
I was just thinking for the $300 for the entire season. That's
for the recreation.
Just for them using the facility.
Okay, so I'm just looking at the $5 thing there.
Oh.
Whatever, $5 per athlete per season.
Okay.
Per home team. That's where I'm looking at that, and I was like, from the cost of what we put into our parks for the amount of use and the benefit for the kids and things, it's like the city's not gonna go broke for $1,400 of paying for park fees or field fees or whatever. And it's a huge, tremendous benefit to the families of Hiram. Like I said, 300 and whatever kids from Hiram, you know.
Is it
I don't
300?
think we should, I mean, you want to put it in there and have that opportunity, but I personally don't think that that's something that we should add another $5 per registration for our kids playing soccer. So, I mean, it's not going to break a family. I mean, usually, you know, if you got 3 or 4 kids playing soccer, that's another $20 or whatever that looks like for registration for. And I just compliment South Cache Soccer for trying to keep those fees as low as they have for a long time and things that way. But I think that, you know, for competitive, yeah, $100 like whatever for field or whatever for that a game is reasonable. But I just would prefer that we, you know, even if you want to put it in the ordinance, but just keep going like we have for 40 years and not charge them for using the field that way.
Okay. Totally fine with that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the council's decision. And my goal isn't to make a ton of money or anything like that. It's just trying to cover costs that the city is putting into field care, trash pickup, and stuff like that.
So Craig, are you saying possibly take off the $5 per athlete, but still charge the $100 rental fee for the day, or not to charge them at all for using it?
I would just continue like we have since the 1980s. I don't know. I mean,
So let me explain the rental for the fields are not for the league play, or not your recreation
Right,
leagues. Are
that's the league.
competitive.
I think we should
It's
charge
if
the
there's like a
league.
tournament, or if somebody wants, you know, they've
Mhm.
created a competitive team and they want to practice that's outside of those leagues that the city is
Okay.
sponsoring. And so they.
So it would just be the
So-
$5 per athlete
Right,
fee.
there's no rental fee or deposit for the fields for rental or practices for the league plays.
You know, it looks to me like if we do that, we could have people all every week, and basically our own citizens couldn't be using those fields for practice or play or whatever, because we got competitive soccer coming in and renting them every weekend and every week. And
that's not changing anything from what competitive soccer is already doing, I don't think.
okay, I'm asking the question to make sure I understand what you're.
I'm just saying, I don't think that it's to the, I think that we should just look at the rec league as, you know, using our fields. If Hiram City was running a rec league soccer program, we, you know, if we're trying to keep it affordable for our citizens, then we would charge whatever we needed to pay, you know, to pay the coach, or not the coaches or volunteers, but to pay the refs. But I don't know that, would we charge them to use Hiram City's fields that we're setting up a program for them to use? I mean, that's the
How's
reason
that
we have
any-
soccer fields out there.
How's that any different than when we rent a baseball field for a tournament?
No, I
He's
think we
talking Hiram
should.
City kids. is
For
all
a
he's talking.
tournament, we
We're
should
talking
be
Hiram
charging.
City
If they're
kids.
doing a special
Okay.
tournament, I have no concerns with what we did set up for tournaments or competitive play
Okay,
like that.
sorry, that's my kind of the clarification
Yeah,
question I
think
wanted to
I'm-
work
I'm
through.
right on board with you on
Okay.
that, Michael.
Okay.
Yeah, and so,
What are the demands as far as cleanup go, and like man hours?
I mean, Ned takes care of the trash and Micah takes care of the trash, and the seasonals do. I mean, that is something that's been done for years. And I know, and speaking to Jake real quick, I mean, it's a public space and people are coming in and out. I'm not sure if how you mitigate or how do you control if it's his participants or if it's just some rando on the street. So I didn't understand that perspective until just now. So I mean, the deposit per season, I mean, it could go to, you know, is there the goalie boxes, or if damage during storms or something to that effect. So, I mean, a deposit can be used for a bunch of different elements. But I mean, and we can clarify what that is as city staff.
My concern with the deposit was just, as I said, was we have a team go out, but it's a public space, other people are using that. How do we know, how we enforce it? It just seems like that's a very difficult thing to put
Even
that
trying to
deposit
enforce
bond.
when you've got families and small children that are in and out of the bathrooms
Yeah.
and who does what.
And we do, as a league, we do want to be good partners with the city. We want to be responsible, and we want to, and we send out messages, clean up after yourself, that type of thing. We hire local kids to go paint the fields. We do all the field painting. And so we at those times, we look for opportunities to pick up and that type of thing as well. But it's just the deposit being tied to trash cans or someone used the bathroom, it'd be hard to necessarily say that that was us or whatever. So that was only my own concern, was just to be a little open-ended in how to apply that.
And if I can, to that end, I used to coach soccer, was up there, whatever, for quite a bit on Saturdays and things and whatever during the week. But and as far as the goals and things like that, it's not during the games, South Cache games, that's issues with that. It's when there's, again, the public, when there's family members of somebody that's playing soccer and the older kids are like, okay, I'm tired of watching my younger brother, stand out there on the field while the ball goes rolling by him. And so the teenagers will go and start goofing off in a field that's not being played on right then. And they'll climb up on the goals, or they'll start kicking the ball, try to kick it through the net, or, pull on things or whatever. So it's not the actual event itself. It's the people that, their refs are out reffing a game and things. They don't have the ability to go and tell somebody to knock it off or control things like that. So I kind of agree with that, the South Cache League is, and cleaning up the field. I've been there at the end of the day when people just pick a bunch of stuff up and the garbage cans are overflowing, and, they do their best to push it in and pick it up that way. I hope that they still do that, but that's what we did, back in the day, is to make sure things were tried to leave it as clean as possible.
Okay, so do we have enough information that we're going to make a change? You want to make a motion, someone? With what information we have here?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution 26-09. Oh, dang, I gotta read it. It's short. A resolution amending the Hiram City Soccer Fields practice rental fee and deposit schedule with striking setting a home team fee per athlete per season for recreational league play, which is paid for by the league to the city. And there we go.
Okay.
So striking it from setting through and. So it would read, Hiram City Parks Department is recommending a home team fee per team per season for competitive league play, ... Everything else with tournaments and
the deposit.
And yeah, I guess the deposit's not in the resolution. That's in the agreement, isn't it?
Okay.
That's in the agreement. So we'd have to change the agreement. That's not the resolution.
Okay. So the deposit is just a deposit, and we can identify that as what, and I'll work with Steve to identify
Yeah, because it's not in the resolution.
what it will be tied to.
Yeah.
Okay.
The rental application is an exhibit. It is tied to.
Oh, it is tied to it. Okay, I'm sorry.
So right there, it says that it is attached to the
Oh.
soccer field rental deposit schedule is attached here to his exhibit A.
Got it. You're right. It is. So it is part of it. So I would waive, I would say waive the deposit for South Cache Recreation.
Okay.
Okay, so is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, let's take a vote. Councilman Adams,
Yay.
Councilmember Folger,
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson,
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson,
Aye.
Councilmember Rasmussen.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Robert.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to 10B, a resolution appointing a designated engineer for Hiram City. You've read the summary. Hiram City's, I'm not going to read the entire thing, but Hiram City has contracted at this point with Forsgren and Associates since March of 2024 to provide administrative land use authority, or the ALUA, professional engineering review services with Eric Dersteller, who is a engineer, as a member of the ALUA. So I think the long and the short of this is, I think there has been some concern that has come across my desk. Does this present a conflict of interest, Craig? And that's been the concern that's come to me this week as we've been preparing for this. So I'd like to maybe address that. And
Well, I can address that. First of all, this is one of the items that I have filled out on my public notice for potential conflicts for local government officials. I am a employee of Forsgren Associates and manage the Logan office. And Eric is one of our senior civil engineers managing our civil group. This discussion came up with the ALUA when the state code first changed the way administrative subdivisions were approved. That was run through our city attorney. We saw no issue of conflict or in proprietary with the city with that operation. The state law states that a council member cannot represent the ALUA or cannot be on the ALUA approval body. It does not say anything about firms. I've discussed this with the Utah State Licensing Board and actually discussed it a number of times with them because it kept coming up periodically. The last information that I have with that, I've discussed it with Brian at I don't have his last name here. He said, I don't see it as a conflict. Let me check with several other people in the office. He checked back and said there's one individual who said potentially they wanted to look into it, that they would get back to me. They wanted to bring it before the full licensing board. This is, we'll get back to you. We don't think it's a problem. We certainly don't want to discourage engineers from being involved in public government and things of that nature. And so to this date, they have never got back to me with it. The city's attorney has, in fact, that record that should be in the record from the ALUA that that there was no conflict. The conflict isn't reviewing documents. I've reviewed engineering documents as a council member for 18 years on the council now. The conflict is with the ALUA, and it's not with the city engineer. It's who's signing off on the ALUA. This resolution or proposed contract amendment is to have a designated person as the city engineer. There's a number of places in our title, in our code, where it references ALUA, but not ALUA does not reference the city engineer as a body. And so the city engineer is referenced for things like site development plans, which has nothing to do with ALUA or city council approval. It's those things, site development plans like Enbridge, still has to come before the city council. It's not a conflict that way. The only potential conflict, which I don't think that it is, with the city is the ALUA, and I'm not a member of the ALUA. I cannot vote, I cannot approve, I cannot disapprove administrative subdivisions, which is the purpose of the ALUA. So I will abstain from voting on this just because of that potential, how somebody could view that, but, you know, that's where I'm at with that. I don't know if there's any questions. I'd be glad to answer any questions, but.
Other comments?
Yeah, I have a couple. It makes reference a couple of places to a contract dated March 28th, 2024.
Yeah.
Can we see a copy of that contract? It's not included. I mean, normally when we get
Yeah,
a
that's,
resolution or a contract or an amendment to something, the original is attached to it. And I've gone back
contract is
through.
available. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Rebecca.
No, I was just saying, I've gone back
It's
through the
available.
minutes.
It's a standard. In fact, it's a contract that the company I work for provided to the city, which they have now used probably half a dozen times for other consultants. It was reviewed by the attorney. It's a contract that we use for a number of municipal clients. The attorney thought that it was very, very fair to both.
But I'm saying if we're
parties, but-
looking to make amendments to that, can we see the original contract, the terms
I
of the
would like a
contract? I mean,
copy.
we don't know if it's open-ended. We have no information regarding the original contract.
And Stephanie, do you have a copy of that contract?
Yeah, actually, I can pull it up right here if you want. Mayor.
Okay, I'm like, I do not have a copy of that contract.
Okay.
I am sure it was signed. I'm sure it just didn't get to me.
I can give you one because I was, anyway. Let's see.
Well, you're looking that up, Craig. Going back to the meeting for March 21st, 2024, when you said that they said there would be no conflict of interest, the way it's written is Forest Grant Engineering does not engineer subdivision projects in Hiram and will most likely not have a conflict of interest when compared to other engineering firms who do developer engineering work. So I didn't take from that there's absolutely no conflict of interest. It's like, well, there's likely not, but likely could.
The conflict comes, yeah. If we, as a city engineer, we could not legally do a subdivision or, a developer related project in the city. We could work for the city. We could do any project that any other consultant can do in the city, but for example, several years ago, we did and I don't do very much development work. If specific developers come and say, we want you to do this work, I would always check with the city beforehand and, we would go about that. Since that, it's probably been 3 or 4 years since we've ever even done anything for a city that we represent, just because even though the cities have come and said, well, we want you to design it because you're our engineer, we want you to do it. And it's just like, it puts us in a bad position. As the representative of the city engineer, we would not do that. And so a lot of cities have that opportunity where they can say, yeah, if you guys are doing something in here, we'll find somebody else to review it. It just doesn't work very well.
Well, and I guess the struggle I'm having is you're considered a substantial interest in Forest Grant Engineering as an employee.
Not anymore. I'm not anymore. I'm an employee. Forest Grant was bought out by a company called Apex Companies. So I'm an office manager here, but I'm not a substantial.
But
I'm
as
not
an
a
employee
principal or whatever
is
like that.
listed as a substantial interest.
That's correct. Okay.
So you do have a substantial interest in Forest
There's a
Grant or
different- yeah,
Apex
in
or
that-
anything
In that
else.
context, that's correct. Yep.
And so
Yep.
if you're financially benefiting from any service work that Forest Grant may do for the city and sitting in a city council position, and I'm not implying there's any wrongdoing, but I'm just implying that there is a definite conflict of interest. And I think ethically in how it looks like a conflict of interest. And I think having Forest Grant, having an associate sitting on the land use authority is the same thing. And looking it up to see if that's a conflict, this is what I found, that yes, an administrative land use authority representative working for the same private company as a city council member in the same city is a significant conflict of interest, or at a minimum, a strong appearance of a conflict of interest. Such situations typically raise questions about the impartiality of land use decisions and the objectivity of the decision maker. So I guess one, I haven't seen a copy of the contract from March 28th. And two, I feel like it's a conflict of interest. As long as you're on city council, sorry.
I agree with that.
Anybody else?
Yeah. Yeah, even if there's like she said, I don't think that there's any wrongdoing, but I just think for optics, like it doesn't look good to have those things, and especially with Eric being on that board, like that, to me, that's a clear conflict of interest.
The attorney didn't think so. So that's all I can say, is we've checked with a number of, it's been reviewed by a number of legal entities. When this first came up with the AOUA, it was the city asked that we do that just because of familiarity with working with cities. We represent 6 different cities here in Cache County area, or northern Utah area, southeast Idaho. And so that background and experience and familiarity with city processes, and specifically with Hiram City, was felt as a significant benefit to the community. And you know, the AOUA did not have to include a consultant engineer at the time, but because of attention to detail and accuracy in reviews, it was determined that that would be a strong benefit to the city. So,
And I agree. I
so
think
don't
it
know
is a
what to
strong
do with
benefit
that,
to the
so.
city. I think the problem comes where he is employed by the same company that you as a city councilman are also employed at. And so visibly, and for transparency's sake, I think it appears to be a conflict.
I kind of have those same concerns. Here's one of the things I think: when the state decided in their overreach policy that they wanted to have city councils no longer be the ones that approve subdivisions, they said, hey, you need to create this ALUA group, and they need to be the ones that vote on it. You're taking too long to approve subdivisions, so we want you to have a different group, a different entity. And to me, I thought, God, I'm a city councilman. I just thought I was elected. I was going to be able to help establish a form and design and be a part of our subdivision process, what was going to be approved. And all of a sudden the state come and remove that from me. And I thought, okay, I just got removed from that. However, I see as Eric being an employee of yours, you're the managing manager at that site, you now have access to him that the rest of us don't. And I see that as a conflict of interest. And I would just say, as I used to be an employee for a contractor for the government, and not only did we have to have yearly training on conflict of interest, but they said, you know what, if it looks like a conflict of interest, avoid the appearance and just avoid it. And so I was brought up, and we stood pretty strong in trying to identify what those issues were and backing away. I see that in our community, not our community, sorry, our county, we have a lot of engineering firms that we could draw upon. And I'm like, let's just avoid the appearance and get a different engineering firm to do that work for us. And then it doesn't create you a problem or the city a problem. And it makes it easy for us, I think.
I agree with that. That's my thought exactly. The optics of it, even if technically we're saying that it's not a conflict of interest, still it doesn't look great. And we have other firms that we could go with and accomplish the same thing, and just kind of remove any doubt that anybody might have there.
Okay. Steve, any comments on your end?
No, I know when we approved it, it was all approved by the city attorney, so I didn't see that it being a problem.
All right, well, we're going to take a vote at this point on Resolution 26-10, resolution appointing a designated city engineer. And it sounds like there possibly will be some more work on that, but let's take that vote.
Somebody has to make a motion,
No,
probably.
Yeah, okay. So we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll second it.
Okay, so the resolution that we're approving is to go with what we have?
Sure.
No, we need to take a roll, we need to take a.
Yeah, we
vote.
need to take a vote on it.
Okay, let's take a vote. Councilmember Adams?
So what engineer are we gonna appoint? Are we gonna appoint Forsgren or what?
Eric Durstler would be the.
Okay.
So
appointed civil
we're voting
city
on-
engineer
Okay.
on an interim basis,
Okay.
because there's nobody representing Hiram City
Okay,
right now.
okay.
Councilmember Adams? Councilmember Rasmussen?
Abstain.
Councilmember Naylin?
Nay.
Councilmember Michael?
Nay.
And Councilmember Rebecca?
Nay.
Okay. The resolution does not pass.
I just have one question. Where's that gonna leave us right now as a city without an engineer?
Well, the
Without
city,
an outside engineer?
well, the city will then go into a process of finding one.
Until then, we're just,
Well, the city
in
has
the water.
engineering firms that
We-
they contract with, multiple.
There's still no designated city engineer.
Not a-
Correct.
not-
All this was doing is establishing that somebody that could sign
Mhm.
engineering documents on behalf of the city. So,
Mhm.
that's all.
So I think we need to go into a council on that and determine other engineering firms and look at possibly another engineer to accomplish that. Okay, let's go to ordinance 26-09, an ordinance amending Title 17 zoning of the Hiram City Municipal Code to create Chapter 17.64 agritourism and amend Section 17.38.010C using regulations to include agritourism as a conditional use in the residential agriculture zone RA. Tony?
Thank you, Mayor. We visited this item the last time we got together. On the summary page, you can find the Planning Commission history and the City Council recommendation history. As we met last time, I took the ordinance back and I spent some time with it by starting almost using the content that we had and rewrote it from the beginning with hearing everybody's comments. And in items 1, 2, and 3 in the February 19th City Council meeting, I explained the additions that has been added to the ordinance, and this is where we're at today. If you got any questions, I hope you all had an opportunity to read through it and can see what I find and see substantial clarifications and improvements to it.
Right off the bat, I'd like to say I thought you did a great job, and I really appreciate all the hard work, but I think you clarified so many things and set a good precedence for us to in that. And I'd like to, without a lot of debate, just say approve the I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution.
The ordinance.
Yeah, sorry, the ordinance 26-09, an ordinance amending the Title 17 zoning of the Hiram City Municipal Code to create Chapter 17.64 agritourism and amend Section 17.38.010 C using regulations to include agritourism as a conditional use in the residential agricultural zone RA.
I'll second that.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second.
I have some questions on it. I'm referring to page 68 of the council packet, section J, standards, number 4. Sorry, Tony, did you find that?
I'm
Section J.
looking. Oh, you're in, okay. I
Down
was
in the-
looking, I have a different page 68.
You as well. So
It's
which
because
page
the
are we?
packet was amended on
Oh, okay.
Tuesday.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
So
So
where,
that's right. This is the previous one that I had already made all my comments on and everything. So
okay, J
J
standards.
standards number 4. Can you explain, if I'm understanding this correctly, it says, it says newly constructed main buildings and structures shall be limited to residential or agricultural use. No new large-scale commercial buildings shall be approved. So I'm just wondering, the thought that comes to my mind is what Casey Snyder did out there on the highway, where essentially he set up an agritourism facility with the barn that they built, and now they have, weddings or whatever events, an event barn out there. So
Mhm.
this is saying if it's not already on the property, they couldn't come in and build a new shed to be used for their agritourism operation, shed, barn, whatever facility. They would have to make it fit in whatever's already on the property. Am I understanding that correctly?
That is where we envision this to start, is just like that. In the RA zones, a newly construction for these zones in a residential component is that they can build a residential home, or they can build an accessory to their residential use. This was an effort to be in a position where we receive applications and we are brought an application with someone who would like to bring into their agritourism property something more substantial than an accessory building to the property, that we would take their proposal and come back to the city council and say, are we ready for 4,000 square foot building on these properties, where right now they can use their existing agricultural barns to enter into this use. So the impact is not a shock and awe right out the gates with the ordinances. So they're permitted already. Anybody's permitted to do the new main building and structures on their lots, a home and accessory buildings.
Right,
Yeah.
But this is still saying they couldn't build no new, I guess, large. Do we need to define large scale? I mean, we don't have any, if an accessory building could be a tool shed, it could also be a, 100 by 150 foot shop.
Right, so
And
newly
what's large
constructed
scale?
main buildings and structures shall be limited to residential or agricultural use.
So basically you're
No
saying,
new large-scale building, commercial buildings shall be approved.
so when you say agricultural use, does I'm just trying to understand the wording here. So does that
Okay.
infer that you could not build, the whatever you build, you cannot use it for the agritourism work? It has to be agricultural.
That is correct.
But is that something they could come in and apply for?
They would have to come
approval?
in and change the ordinance. And
So
my
that's,
concern with
Yeah.
that-
yeah,
my
that's a
concern with
large
that is-
building, Craig. Good, that's large,
It
that's
doesn't say
large.
that. It
Newly
says-
constructed main buildings or structures shall be limited to residential or agricultural use. No new large-scale commercial buildings shall be approved. So it's not permitting a large-scale commercial building. And 5, pronging underneath it, it doesn't exactly prong, but it continues newly constructed accessory buildings and structures. So that's an accessory to the site shall be limited to the requirements of agricultural building and reflect architecture character that is consistent with prioritizing the rural character, real
Right, so that's
character.
exactly
So,
what I'm thinking, like, again, Casey's Barn
mhm.
is an agricultural building. It looks like an agricultural
It is,
barn.
it does, yeah.
But inside it's an event
Mhm.
center. That obviously I would say is large scale,
Mhm.
but so you're saying that they could do something on a smaller scale and still use that for agriculture, agritourism.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah,
so
we're just not ready for the
this is-
main building
This is very
on the
ambiguous
property.
on what is a large scale versus a small.
Mhm.
Where's the line drawn?
So the accessory buildings and accessory structures are regulated by setbacks and height.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But not by size.
They are regulated to the size of the rear yard up to 50%, which
Okay,
is
so you've
really
got
extreme.
a minimum 5 acre
Mhm.
property for anything that's gonna be, an event type center. And so
Mhm.
setbacks and rear yards and things are, unless they're building a huge
2.5
facility,
acre size building in the back,
that's
correct.
so I'm
Or
just
2 acre.
trying to figure out
Yeah.
how to enforce that, or why we would want to, because and the reason, I mean, I've associated with some people who have wanted to do things, and this is prior to Tony. You're very, very
Mhm.
open-minded and very, very fair.
Mhm.
But there's been people who have come to the city wanting to do particular things and uses, and the answer has always been, well, our ordinance doesn't allow that. There's no,
Mhm.
well, nobody said to them, oh, well, if you want to go and try to, fill out a application and get the ordinance changed, or let's see if we can, the city, initiate some changes. It's just, sorry, that ordinance, that doesn't fit within our permitted uses, and it shuts them down. And also, if people are looking at something like this and they read it in the ordinance, some people don't even know to come and talk to you about it. They'll just say, well, it's not permitted, and it's
Mhm.
online, and that's what it says. And so I just have questions about that particular section.
Mhm.
And then one other question on number 6 right there. What's my question? Let's see. Temporary structure, yeah. All applicable zoning and building code requirements must be met. Water, sewer, power, connections, accessibility, etc. If you're putting a temporary structure in it, I don't understand water, sewer, temporary power. You can run an extension cord. Is that meeting the requirements of temporary power? Like, what we do out on the square for Hiram Hot Wheels or something?
Safety considerations for that. Yeah,
Okay.
for the safety. Water may be a bit high up on the consideration, but the power connections and making sure that there's accessibility to these temporary structures. So when they do put them up, a user that's in a wheelchair can get to them temporary structures if they're attracting an accessory
Right,
use.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're not questioning accessibility. If they don't have those same,
Yeah.
they be able to accomplish that with their activities or events. But I'm just looking at our ordinances for water and power, and I guess it doesn't say sewer, but water and power. Is that implying that they have? I mean, that event may not even require water.
Exactly.
And so is this, I'm just trying to understand what your intent was. Is that saying that you have to provide that? Because
No,
as you would, we don't have a temporary water system, for example.
right. And if they run a temporary out there, I was thinking primarily the safety factor, that if they're going to go and put something up temporary, and it's temporary 4-6 months, what are,
Okay, but I
So,
thought in there it
what
says
happened?
temporary must be
After 3
removed
days
within 3
after
days
it's
after an
done.
event or something. So I
Yeah.
don't think you're gonna have
Mhm.
a long, season-long tent or something. It seems like it's gotta
Mhm.
be 3 days
Well,
after an event.
And that temporary structure needs to meet building code requirements, so it's safe for people to go into, and it's not something that's gonna collapse on them. Maybe I think that
Can we
if
just
we
add
just
where applicable,
strike,
or just
I would strike all the IEs is what
Okay.
I'd do. I'd put the period, I would recommend putting the period at met and strike out that.
Man, okay. So basically, if there's no, if you don't need to have water there, obviously, it's still probably subject to fire protection, or,
Mhm.
that's a whole nother question, is like, you're out in the middle of a 5-acre parcel and you're putting
Mhm.
up a temporary facility, Mr. Fire Chief, what's your fire protection requirements for this?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So looking back at number 4, it's coming to me. The newly constructed main building is that the main building on these properties has to be a home. A home would be a main building, or if it's an agricultural property and it exists and it has a main structure on it, then it already has a main structure. So coming in afterwards, everything's an accessory to those existing main buildings that are there.
So I have,
That.
along with that, Tony, I can see a little bit of ambiguity here between 4 and 5. I think Craig has a good point.
Yeah.
Just with the last sentence in 4, no new large-scale commercial buildings shall be approved, but then 5 says newly constructed accessory buildings. What if we were to just to strike no new large-scale commercial buildings shall be approved? And leave newly constructed accessory buildings and structures shall be limited to the requirements of accessory buildings and reflect architectural character that is consistent with prioritizing rural character. Because I certainly wouldn't want to stop if they have need to build a barn. I wouldn't want to prohibit them from doing that. And I think if we just struck that last sentence out of 4, they still have the right to go ahead and expand that farm a little bit if they want to do that. Certainly in good faith with what they're being approved for, agritourism.
So I think, so
Oh, yeah, that works. That striking that sentence, no large scale.
I understand the
Yeah.
spirit of that, why you were writing that,
Yeah.
but I just think that sentence would come back to haunt us, I think, a little bit.
Yep, let's take that out. And 5,
I think
5
5
is fine.
5 is good.
Yeah.
And then would those who made the motion and the second accept that change, and also in 6A, striking out the IE part of that?
I'll
Yeah.
accept that.
Yeah.
Okay, I had one other question on the next page down, Tony, on the signage. Excuse me.
What page?
Number
are you on?
9, so it's just the following page,
Okay.
one page later.
All right.
Number 9 on the signage. It says, it looks like this is kind of like a standalone sign section.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, is it appropriate to refer to our general sign ordinance? Because I'm just looking at this and saying that somebody, and I don't know, I'm throwing this in here right or not, but I'm just looking at it and saying, one identification sign not to exceed 12 square feet, which is not huge, it's 3 foot by 4 foot, but it basically, is this, I mean, something that could come in and put in a electronic message sign and
No, it
whatever.
can't. This sign, this number 9, this language is interpreted from our sign code that permits this sign in that zoning district already.
Okay.
It's totally aligned with it. They're not illuminated, they're not direct they're not internally lit signs. So when I was thinking about this sign, I went to our sign code and found the best fitting code of the sign already. I could refer it to that code.
So that's all I'm
But
wondering
then
is
they
if
will
we need to
start
refer it
looking
to that
at
code.
a high profile sign and, well, that's okay in this district. Let me do that one. And I was,
Well, this says
would be-
in size, so they have a 12 square feet
Mhm.
affixed to a structure or on a pole
less than 8
in
feet,
height.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
that would limit it. You wouldn't have a high, billboard type.
Exactly, yeah.
Sign.
It'd be attached to a barn or on a pole.
Still think it
up
should
front.
be subject to the sign ordinance.
It's,
in
all
the
the text came from our sign ordinance.
Okay, but this is not intended to be just a standalone section for signage.
This
It
is, so
is.
so this signage, yep, if they go to the sign code, and if we don't have it written down, they'll go to the sign code and start looking at the RA zoning districts and start picking
Mhm.
signs out of it. So I pulled the less of
The one
the
that felt the
impact
best, the one that
sign
felt the best, yeah.
category and put it in there without having to change that current ordinance. And if that ordinance is in place already, accepting these signs, then it fits here.
Okay.
Is what my thinking behind it.
Okay.
I think you've covered that well, Tony.
That's all I have. That's all.
Yeah. So Michael, do you want to restate your motion?
I don't.
I think
you need
he
we
made
need
the
to?
motion
Oh.
and we're good.
I didn't make a motion. I just asked for.
I
friendly
made the
amendment.
motion and you asked if I was okay with the alterations.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
And I am too.
So we just vote?
Do we have a second?
I was the second.
Okay, so let's start with Councilman Adams,
Aye.
Councilman Rasmussen,
Aye.
Councilman Folger,
Aye.
Councilman Michael,
Aye.
Councilmember Naylin.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, ordinance
Stop,
passes.
Tony.
Okay, thank you.
Great job, Tony.
Thanks.
Brad, Melinda, great job. Keep up the good work. Okay, so let's move to ordinance 26-11 on 10D and ordinance amending sections 9.44-040 cigars, cigarettes, and tobacco prohibitions,
Prohibitions.
9.52-030 permitting use by minors in place of business, 9.52.040 furnishing to minors, and 9.52.050 buying or possessing by minors of Title IX public peace, morals, and welfare of the Hiram City Municipal Code to change the minimum age from 19 to 21 years. Any discussion?
The third whereas, on that ordinance reads, whereas the city council of Hiram City finds that the use of tobacco products, electronic cigarette products, and nicotine products by persons under the age of 21 poses significant risk to public health and safety. Yes, I would just like to enumerate nicotine products is not the public safety health. The public safety health is everything else that's in those tobacco products. It's the smoke, it's the chemicals, the carcinogens and things that way. So, and also, I don't think it just causes a public health to people under the age of 21. I think it causes a public health. And so I would like to suggest striking and nicotine products by persons under the age of 21 and just let it read, whereas the City Council of Hiram City finds that the use of tobacco products and electronic cigarette products poses a significant risk to public health and safety, and that's consistent with the wording in state and federal law. In fact, state and federal law don't state electronic cigarettes. I looked that up. Basically, state and federal law is just the use of tobacco products, which is also what we refer to in the actual ordinance itself. And so I don't know if that's really, I guess that is part of the ordinance, that whereas, but I don't want to make the motion because I ain't got to read that whole paragraph that the mayor just read. I will.
Okay, go ahead, make the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve ordinance 26-11 and ordinance amending sections 9.44.040 cigars, cigarettes, and tobacco prohibitions, 9.52.030 permitting use by minors in place of business, 9.52.040 furnishing to minors, and 9.52.050 buying or possessing by minors of Title IX Public Peace, Morals, and Welfare of the Hiram City Municipal Code to change the minimum age from 19 to 21 years with the revision to add the word "and" under the third whereas behind tobacco products. Wait, no, just to strike that. So that the third whereas would read, the City Council of Hiram finds that the use of tobacco products poses significant risks to public health and safety, and strike the rest of that paragraph, and no further changes to the document, to the ordinance.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, good. Motion and a second. Let's vote. Councilmember Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember Rasmussen.
Aye.
Councilmember Nayland.
Aye.
Councilmember Michael.
Aye.
Councilmember Folger.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. All right, let's move on to other business. Considering we've taken care of Emily Webb to the Hiram Planning and Commission.
We already did that.
That's what I'm saying. We've taken care of that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so now we have discussion on the Elite Hall. So I'll open the floor for discussion. I'd be happy to start. I really feel at this point, given the examination that we did this morning of the Elite Hall with the need to replace the roof and to install seismic equipment, earthquake prevention equipment, with the renovations of the restroom, we looked at those, that would be extensive. Fixing the facade on the front of the building, getting windows in the building. I feel strongly that we need to veto an annex entirely and focus on the Elite Hall that we own in the city. That building's not going anywhere. And it's my strong opinion that I think we need to take care of it, polish it, shine it, make it the Elite Hall that it is. Forget the annex and address the needs of the interior and the ceiling, the roof. And I would even go as far as to say I think we should lock the kitchen in the upstairs and not use the kitchen for food service. I think we should move forward on putting an ADA ramp, and we looked at the possibility of that this morning with Ryan Lemon.
Okay.
And that's very feasible to install an ADA ramp on the back using the back doors. we talked in,
The back doors.
yeah, through the north doors, in
Do
the
you
back.
recognize that that's on the north side of the building and it's
And we could
pretty much
cover.
inaccessible for,
We talked about that and talked about the fact that we could cover the ramp. And that would be probably the easiest and most inexpensive, but a very accessible way to add an ADA ramp and bring it out to the east side where the parking lot is right now. Ryan Lemon thought that was very doable. We talked about redoing the restrooms and making those ADA approved and fixing the front of the building. As you've noticed, we've got plywood in a lot of places. We've talked about a facade that could be put on there that would match the brick.
when you
And
say a facade, can you explain that a little
the
bit? more?
the facade where you've got, walk into the front of the building and you see the two patches of plywood sitting right there in the front when you drive by. It's, they're starting to weather. It's just, a fix, is temporary fix, I'm sure is what it was. Just as in the windows on the east side, the plywood that's been in for, I don't know how long it's been in there, but we talked about,
Plywood's been in there since Hans was built.
yeah, since Hans was built then. It's been a long time. And so I guess my feeling is we're gonna put money into the Elite Hall, whether we build an annex or not. And I feel strongly that the annex is not going to accomplish any more than what the Elite Hall will accomplish if we polish and shine and remodel and make it the very best historic building that we can. And I don't think the annex would add anything other than an ADA entrance.
Okay.
I personally, and I think that, I think large mills inside the Elite Hall, I'm not in favor of that. I think refreshments are fine, but when we feed large families, and I think we create a mess for the city. And so that to me is something that I would debate or negotiate or talk about. But I just see what the city goes through on a Monday morning after they've had a large party there and the mess that it's created. And I just think, is it necessary to have large meals in the Elite Hall when we have a civic center across the street that has a kitchen and is designed for feeding people? So that's my feeling. We've, we put some numbers. The roof is going to cost, with the seismic and everything, by the time we're done, we're going to be close to 100,000 on the roof. And the remodel, we don't have numbers yet for that, but I just feel like we should try and redirect our RAPS grant if it's at all possible. And I'm willing to go to the county council and plead the case that we need to redirect those funds to the remodeling of the Elite Hall and not to the building of an annex on the east side. I may have missed something, but is there other comment? I'm open for any discussion on it tonight.
I tend to agree. Whether or not we eventually have an annex, I think is not even something to be discussed right now, just because there is so much other that does need to be done. And I think that funds would be better directed there. I sort of feel like it's putting the cart before the horse to do an annex when there's so many other things that need to be fixed first.
As I've been over there, I heard you say, Craig, that when we bring tables up and down the stairs, we bump the walls, and you didn't really like tables going up and down. If we didn't host any kind of a dinners there, I think we would still be in line with what the character of the original building was, which was for dancing. I think it's a great place to have, some events, dancing being one of those, but I don't really see it as a dinner club or a place to host dinners. I agree with the mayor that that's easily something we can do across the street. Boy, I hate driving past and seeing the plywood windows, and I'm like, why can't we just move forward with that? I do see that. I happened to be over there the other night when the water was coming in, and I thought, boy, that roof is something that definitely needs to be replaced. I look at, it'd be nice to have a lot of things, and I thought back about how I trained and talked to my kids. I said, you know, you can want a lot of things, but what do we really need? And so I think there's a difference between wants and needs. And I think what we want is really not what we really need. And so I'd like to, I second you with what you're proposing, to just put our funds into the Elite Hall and get it fixed.
Okay,
Me?
sure.
Yeah, and I'll say I am not strongly opposed necessarily to an annex. However, the condition that Elite Hall is in right now, and being over there as well, the evening the flooding happened and the roof and everything else, I feel like it's hard to justify spending $600,000 on an annex when there's a lot of work just to restore Elite Hall at this point. And that being said, I really am strongly in favor of restoring Elite Hall and putting it back to its former glory and having it be a real icon of Hiram, and being used. So I think today, looking at this right now today, it's hard to go that direction when the roof needs to be repaired. I mean, there's so much that needs to be done. So that's where I sit.
Well, I appreciate the city's being willing to invest in it. I've been working actively with the Elite Hall for over 15 years now, with trying to increase the use of the building with repairs, fixing things up. I've donated over $20,000 of professional time to various projects and things there. And I am excited to, if the city actually will make a commitment to investment there. I think, Mayor, if you want to debate it, I think you're absolutely wrong on looking at the north doors as a ADA entry into that building. It's taking and basically putting that as, you're not going to use it for anything else. Your main entry is on the south side. That's where people come into the facility. Having ADA access on the north end, you bring somebody in a wheelchair and everybody's coming in on the south end, and you say, now you got to go clear around the back 40. It's kind of like the old church building that used to be down here. And to get from one level to the next, the person had to go out and around the sidewalk and up along Main Street and up at the upper level. And so it's basically what you're doing to people that need to use that access. If you're going to do an ADA ramp not in an annex, I would put it on the east side of the building. It's a lot better with parking. It fits better with the use of the building. It could be used as a secondary access during dances and things. It's a lot more feasible to take that where you're coming in a lot closer to grade. It's still up above the ground, but not near it as much as it is coming in on the north end. And so I strongly would suggest looking at that as an option. And the next main concern is, before you do anything, you need to get a full set of drawings for the renovation. If you try to do the front entry, if you try to do the bathrooms, or if you try to do an ADA access or windows, you don't know what you're going to, basically trying to make that fit with what kind of windows are you going to get? How's that going to look with everything else inside the building when it gets renovated? It's got to be a complete comprehensive plan once you have those plans and you know that the trim is going to fit, that the colors, that it maintains the SHPO, you've got to run all this through the state historic preservation team with SHPO and things. Once you do that, then you can take and bring projects out. If you want to do the bathrooms, if you want to do the floor around the dance hall or whatever, that all needs done as well. Then there's ways you can separate that out into, smaller manageable projects. But you got to start with getting the plans and bringing that together. The seismic evaluation of the building, most of that work is done up above the ceiling. It's up in the truss space, the attic space. That could be done before getting a set of drawings, but you can't just go out there and hire a contractor now to go put up seismic straps. They don't know what to do. You got to go through the engineering. You got to get the earthquake design requirements and then get the detailing for that. You got to figure out, the nailing pattern and everything else to put back in the roof before you put a new roof on it.
I think, Craig, let me just interrupt. That's all, we understand all of that.
Okay.
No, we're not just hiring a contractor to start. Everything you've said is true.
Okay.
And we fully understand that. We had, like I say, we had Ryan Lemon there, and I forget the other gentleman that was there today, that was with him, and they went up in the attic. We went down below. They looked at everything and fully understand that this would be a project with construction plans and blueprints and work with Jamie on SHPO, and it would be done very methodically and correct. Jamie, do you have anything that you would like to add? I mean, you're an integral part of all of this.
I would just say that I'm really grateful that the city council is willing to look at this as a sustained project and put money. I think I'm getting sick. I'm sorry. If I seem weird, it's not because I'm like ornery about this. Like, I've been here since 8 and I don't feel great. But so also I'll stay away from you. But I'm really grateful about the commitment and the wanting to restore Elite Hall. We have been on a trajectory based off of input and the experts both the experts and the community telling us what they want. And you're right. It is like, if we're at a good, better, best, it's the best option, right? And so I am happy that we are moving forward with stuff but I completely agree with Craig in that this money that the city has budgeted this year to spend, obviously we need to address the roof, it's getting late, roof, and we need a comprehensive plan. Like, with this chunk of money we have right now, we need a whole plan, because that's what we've been working at. And that's why there's still plywood and windows and things, because we haven't got, we know it needs to be fixed, but you got to do this, and this before you can do that. And so having one comprehensive plan, so as soon as we get money, as soon as I can get SHPO grants, as soon as, whatever happens, we can just keep going. And I would very respectfully request that I have a seat at that table with the architect as we're talking about plans, because I do feel like Craig said, we have been working actively on the building for 15 years. I haven't spent $20,000 in professional time there, but I have spent probably tens of thousands of hours at events there over the last 15 years. And I feel like I have really good relationships with SHPO. I understand the historical process, and I know how people use the hall. And so, as we get down to decisions about, we have a rough idea of what we want it to look like, but I would really like to be able to be part of the conversations as we're really, when we get into construction drawings of maybe should there be a sink here, or should there be, things we should consider just to make sure that every penny we spend has forethought to it. And that's how I feel about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Steve, any comments from you? Okay, well, let's move, if that's all right, we'll move in that direction, and we will make progress on that queen that sits on the corner of Main Street. Oh, okay. Consideration and award a bid for replacement of the Elite Hall roof. I think we're I'm not sure we're ready to approve that at this point, with consideration of the seismic work that needs to be installed as well. I don't think that we have that, that information yet, so I'm going to table that, if that's all right. Let's
Do
go
we
to,
need a motion to table?
do we need a motion to table that? I think these are
On the
just other
agenda,
business.
so Probably.
Okay,
Okay, I move to table the roof bid. The consideration and award of a bid for replacement of the Elite Hall roof.
Actually, it's just to not award it. I mean, you have to tell the contractor, are you gonna, if you table it, then they don't know what to do. They're basically just left on the hook. The city doesn't have any authority to say, we're not accepting your bid. It's just sits out there. So you either have to say a recommendation to not award or to reject all bids until we can address the seismic work and things with that.
is that a motion?
Well, I'll have to be, I'll make a motion to reject the bids for the Elite Hall roof replacement until such time as the project can be rebid with additional seismic renovation work.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's go to consideration and approval for Hiram City to submit licensing paperwork to provide ground ambulance service, advanced EMT ambulance service, and medical standby services for Hiram City limits, along with contracting a paramedic service with a neighboring department. Tony?
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, council members, for being here late. So we've talked about this a couple times now. We need to move forward on a vote so we can apply for a license with the state. They have to know that the city backs us on it. I know there's some talk going around, whatnot. A couple things I want to bring out. It's not just about the financial part of it, it's about us having our own service, us taking over the service, us growing the future. Right now, we're paying for a fire department on one side of town, medical service on the other. We need to combine that, so we're just paying for one service. We're working on the future of Hiram, and we're in control of that, not somebody else. Just listening to a story in Willard right now, where Brigham covers Willard's medical service, and Brigham notified them that they're raising their service to $2,000 a call, which was almost double what it was. But because they're contracted with them, they have no say over that. So they're scrambling to figure out what they can do. Anyway, I'd like to thank those who came and talked to us during the week. Appreciate your interest in it and getting to talk to you, and I'd take any questions.
Appreciate all the work you put into it too, Tony. I think, I look at it as this would bless this city 10, 20 years down the road in incredible good ways.
Yeah.
And I think now is the time that we need to address it.
Okay.
I know every project has pros and cons, and I tried to really come up with a con for this, and I really can't. I think it has a positive aspect all around. One of the people that gave public comment said, hey, have you looked at the numbers? And I know you guys did. You shared some of that with us. And I think, to me, that was a big concern. I'm not interested in raising taxes for people, but I am trying to say, how can we bless our citizens with the services? And I think you're doing that. So thanks.
Thank you.
I just have a couple questions.
Okay.
First of all, we're going to cancel our contract with this county, right? But then we're going to have to get a paramedic. Because if we get, right now on all our ambulance calls, we got a paramedic on board. And I give you, we don't need a paramedic all the time. So it just seems
But you don't know.
counterintuitive
Until
to,
you get there.
yeah.
So for a long time, we never had paramedics in Hiram. We contracted with Logan, right? We have advanced EMTs. There's like 4 things that they can't do that a paramedic can.
Okay.
But the first initial response there, those guys can do everything a paramedic can do. By the time they get through getting the patient stabilized, getting CPR going, whatever that takes, your paramedic's going to be here. Whether we hire it through the county or it's where we hire it through Logan or Smithfield, if we do it through Smithfield, they put somebody here and we pay them when they go on a call, not all the time, just when they come on a call. It worked forever. It'll work now. My concern is I am not going to decrease our service to our citizens.
And I don't think you will, Tony. And I'm not, you
Yeah.
guys do a great job, okay? It's all about money to me.
Yeah, and
Because you guys do an outstanding job, but so
and
does
it's-
the county.
takes a little bit of sting right at first because we got to buy an ambulance. But I talked to a wise man that says there's not going to be a cheaper time than right now to do it. So it's just, I feel like it's a time to move forward. I've lived here all my life, love Hiram, would do anything I can for it, would make sure to do anything I could to stop it from hurting our people. So I think it's the right time to move that way.
You know, I pulled out the minutes from 1954 when the fire station was brought to a vote to a city council back in 1954. And the opposition for that fire station was pretty incredible because of the cost. And I look now at Hiram City's fire station, and I think we have the best fire station in the valley, bar none. I really do. And I thank the forefathers from back in 1954 who had the vision for 2026 and what we would have and what we would need. As I look at the other communities and municipalities around the valley that are as old as Hiram, who didn't necessarily have the foresight or maybe the resources, whatever it was. I don't place blame, but I'm just so grateful for, our forefathers that said Hiram City needs a good fire station and we need to grow it. And I think this is exactly where we're at with our ambulance service. I think in 2075, if we're still around, I think they'll say, boy, that Tony Stauffer was one smart cookie. And
hope
so I just think we're on a good trajectory as far as I'm concerned in what we're doing. I've gone over the numbers with Wes and Tony frontwards and backwards, and Steve, I want you to know that it pencils without a great burden at all on the city, and we can do it without raising taxes.
So we can pay $1,700,000 without raising taxes?
Yes, we can.
I'd like to see how.
Well, the way that the county is, well, I'm not going to get into that. I can show you though, based on the numbers that we've gone over. But I can assure you that
See numbers. Anybody can give numbers.
So with the numbers, I had a question about the numbers. So
Wes, do you want to come up and take the podium with Tony?
This would be something you could probably help with here. Thank you. So in the EMS, no, let's go to the fire. So for the fire budget numbers, we have $0 for fire personnel, $0 for administration personnel, but yet it's listed as a fire/EMT person.
Okay.
Can you explain why those costs weren't allocated out to
Well, that's
basically the expected calls of fire versus EMT? I'm trying to understand why it's all put under EMT.
Because that's the bonus you get with bringing them together. That's why everybody's done that. They join them together, their medical and their fire. You have to have your people here for the ambulance, right? That's your priority. Once you get those full-time, sorry, they're getting a call. Once you get those people there for the medical, the same administration is going to run the fire side of it, right? That's why we're hiring the people, not just to do EMT. They're also firefighters. We cross-train everybody, fire and EMS. So we don't need to put all the administration for this and that. That's what we're doing now. We're paying all the fire stuff right now, and we're paying all the EMS up here. Why don't we put those together? Make sense and make it sensible, and bring the money back into the city at the same time.
Okay. Thank you for the explanation on that. Another question is,
Craig, you're welcome to Craig and Steve to just stop by my office and go through it.
Okay.
Okay.
So another question is, and the email that was sent out from the fire county chief, I think all of the council members received that. In the budgets down here at the bottom, basically looks at allocations of once you get that license, other communities would have the opportunity to leave Cache County and come to Hiram City Ambulance, if I understand that correctly. And so this is assuming the numbers in here that Nibley would come to Cache County for just short of $345,000 and Millville for another $100,000. Whereas right now, Nibley is approximately the same population size as Hiram City. And if I'm understanding the numbers correctly, we're paying the county through taxes or assessments, whatever that is, just under $200,000 right now. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So why would Nibley then, they have approximately the same population, so I'm assuming, maybe incorrectly, I don't know, that they're probably paying the county about the same amount as we are?
So understand that 190,000 that we're paying, that's separate from the EMS revenue that they're also collecting. So the county is collecting 190,000 to provide EMS service, and they're collecting 325,000 a year from from residents within our community, and they're also taxing residents through the general fund tax for that service. And so you have to look at who's collecting the tax, right? Who's charging the tax and how it's paid for. But at the end of the day, what I'm telling you is we've gone through, we've put a few different scenarios together. Because again, EMS is very important. It's not something that it needs to be an organized process in which services are transitioned between, either city or county, right? The county provides that service, EMS, on the south end. Smithfield does on the north end. Smithfield doesn't want to sell, and isn't interested in selling their EMS and fire. And so the county's kind of in a position, I went to Mayor Miller last fall and said, is Hiram, when they talked about, we had about 4 million in assets that Hiram's invested into our fire station. I said, are we interested in selling that to the county? Because at that point in time, they had talked about potentially buying it. And Mayor Miller said, we are not interested in selling our fire.
I understand. I remember those conversations.
And so just understand that, we want to get so that the cities, if it's going to be a city operated and city run district, potentially, right now, we're just making that step of providing EMS within Hiram.
Okay.
Right.
But in the budget,
Can I clarify those numbers for you?
let me
Sorry.
just ask another question.
Okay.
So what's the incentive for those two communities to combined spend another, $450,000 basically, to come to Hiram when at just a little over 50% of that, they can continue with service for the county?
Can I clarify that real quick? Those numbers that you're looking at, the 344 and the 99, that is what we're going to collect from them on our fire service, that we're already contracted with them. That is not ambulance
Not
service.
the ambulance service.
No. So if we end up contracting with the ambulance, then that would be something we'd have to figure out at that point. So those are numbers. They've been discussing raising their Nibley's rates, and that's what we would be collecting just from contract fire that we're doing now.
And
We
just
counted
if
fire
they
as well.
chose to come. well,
No,
Millville
they're already
does.
contracted with us
Nibley,
for
okay.
fire.
Okay.
For fire, yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's those numbers. That
That's
does
the
not
fire
have us
numbers.
doing
Okay, thank you.
So I talked to Smithfield today, and they're not getting rich doing this. So they've got, I think it's 3 or 4 of the big cities who they pay them pretty good money. But so when they go to like Clarkson and all them, the very most money they get a year out of them smaller cities is $2,000.
Per call.
$2,000 is what they charge the city.
Per call though, right?
No,
No.
Oh,
So,
total.
so the way
And
they
that's-
work is they charge the city enough to pay for their computer programs that run it and everything.
Mhm.
But they charge the people they transport, and they're allowed to charge the insurance companies, basically the people, $47 a mile, which those towns are way out there. And they charge them the ambulance service, the fee for taking care of them, getting them back. That's where they make their money back. They don't charge every city a big chunk of money.
Yeah.
They charge them for what they use, you know.
Understand too, the difference between a city and a city-created district or group of cities that create a district is you now can implement a tax in that whole area. What Smithfield's doing right now is they're putting that burden only on their own residents. They haven't gone through the process of forming a city-created group of a district created among a group of cities so that they can tax that overall area. And so we're going through the process. Again, this has got to be an organized process so that when we do take on that burden of additional staff and equipment, that we're getting the revenue. Getting the medical license is taking that step of collecting $325,000 just on Hiram residents that they're already paying.
We're working on Hiram right now. We want to take care of Hiram. We want to get ourselves established. If the other cities want to come and join with us, we'll negotiate that at that time, see what we need to do that. But we are focused on taking care of Hiram, building our department together, medical and fire. And that's our start. That's where we're going. And then we'll talk the bigger scale here.
so Chief George sent it, but I can't find it. So they currently own the only medical service for the south end of the valley for
Correct.
4 years.
Correct.
Not,
Since-
so,
Since Sims quit, you remember when Sims quit?
Sure.
They said, we're quitting. You guys figure it out. Okay? We don't want that to happen again, right? So this is where this fixes that. So he went in there to provide an ambulance service for us. We want that back because the only return you can get all in fire and medical service is through the medical side. We feel like we should be getting that back instead of that money going to the county.
and we've been having a lot of different discussions with cities, with the county. So
We've
we're
not
trying to
gone into
work
this
through it.
unresearched at all. I've sat down, Luke sit down with Logan's mayor for many hours with Smithfield's, or not mayor, fire chief. And they went through our numbers and they've helped us adjust numbers. And they says, you're spot on right where you should be. This is where. it will-
I think part of your concern too, maybe Councilmember Adams, is, you know, I had heard as far as advanced EMT and maybe paramedic, you can't charge the same amount. And that could be true, absolutely. Understand that when you put together a pro forma financial and you come up with some scenarios, I was making assumptions last fall of the potential that we could form a district on the south end of the county. I think that's still a potential. And again, I'm vested in trying to do the best thing for Hiram. And so,
So am I.
and I just think if we need to take these steps in an organized way, and I think we're doing that.
And I'd love to sit down with you head to head anytime and go through. that.
Tony, I'm not doubting you guys.
I know, but I want- I told
think you guys are
Steve,
great.
I would like everybody to vote yes. You know, I know that might not happen, but I've always felt like the council supported us 100%, and we appreciate so much what we have over there.
You're talking about the fire station. Well, Craig and I were on there when we approved it.
Yeah,
You know,
so
we're such a,
I don't want you to have doubts and guesses, but I do believe at this time, this is where we need to move to.
So Thank you for the work that's gone into this. I have a question on the item on the agenda that says for approval to submit licensing paperwork to provide ground ambulance service. So what does that commit the city to? Does that commit the city just to submit an application for paperwork? Does that commit the city to saying we are moving forward with this? Or is that
I'm gonna bring-
basically saying this is the first step, there's still an
This is
exit
the
somewhere?
first step. And I'm going to bring Luke up because he is our EMS, over our EMS at this time. This is the start. We have to start here before the state will.
But it's
let us
not saying
continue the
that
license.
we're 100% committed. It's saying we are trying to see if we can get a license, or is it like, yeah, they will give you a license, or
Yeah,
what's the
yeah,
status of
so,
that?
and that's why the budget is the way it is, because I have to submit that to the state. And that's why I have all the personnel in the EMS side, because those are personnel I have to have for EMS side. And yes, they do fire also, right? So that's why it's set up that way. What I have to do is I have to submit this proposal and a letter from the mayor saying that Hiram City agrees, accepts this proposal and wants Hiram to do their medical service. And then we can proceed with our licensing. And yes, Cache County does have the medical license for the south end for 4 years. When we renewed last year with them, we put in our renewal that we were going to try to start our own by 27. So we can get out of that contract, but like Nibley, Millville, Wellsville, they're all tied to Cache County for at least 4 more years. Yes. So yes, we need a letter saying you guys accept this, you want us to do it, and then I can submit and start doing all my licensing through the state.
So what's the likelihood of not getting the licensing if you submit that? Is it a matter of like
It's just a matter of paperwork, really, is what it is.
We've had the state EMS guy up here working with us on this, so he's guiding us along the way as well. So
And
this is our first.
Is there a time
County-
factor? Isn't there a time factor? Like you don't get the license immediately, isn't that
Right. There's a lot of paperwork and stuff. And the
It's a
first step
process.
is this process that we're doing. And Chief George also put in their contract that if for some reason we don't get our set up by 27, they will still cover us. So we are covered with ambulance service, even if we don't get this set up by 27.
So I move to approve for Hiram City to submit licensing paperwork to provide ground ambulance service, advanced EMT ambulance service, and medical standby services for Hiram City limits, along with contracting a paramedic service with a neighboring department.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I don't understand all of it, but I trust the people that are looking at this. If you've had as much discussion and review as what you're talking about, I think that you've done a lot of due diligence with it, and I respect and I trust you guys in a lot of ways with that. So thank you.
All right, then let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous.
No, they.
No, he didn't.
Oh, he did. Okay, all opposed? You're,
Nay.
did you vote an A, Steve?
Yeah.
Okay. So the motion carried. Well, the motion carries. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
All right, let's move to quickly through consideration and award of bid for the 300 South Underground Power Project. Larry, thank you for your patience, your diligence, and we'll put you first on the program next week.
I'd sure appreciate that. No, I don't mind being here at all, so I appreciate your time and consideration. We have solicited some bids for a project that we have to install some underground power lines, a 600 amp circuit out of our Hammer substation, which will give us ability to tie substations together and give us increased capacity and reliability. So as you can see, we had 5 submittals, bids on this project. The apparent low bidder was LeGrand Johnson Construction. So I guess we're just here to get approval or award of the bid. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So.
See, LeGrand knows what they're doing. Oh, it's like half.
Well, I hope they do. So, I mean, it was a little bit of a surprise to see the difference between the bids there. So that does have us concerned a little bit, but
Have you gone back to them and asked them to verify and confirm that they're?
yeah, and I
talked with them about the work and the items and the things that are required in that.
Yep, and they committed to us that everything's there. So
Are they self-performing it with their crews, or they have subcontractors associated with that?
I don't know. I'm guessing they would be self-performing it, but I don't know that for sure.
So as I looked at the plans, trying to understand the work, it's primarily the contractors being hired to install like underground conduit and set the switch boxes or set the bases, and then Hiram City will pull all the conductors. Am I understanding that right?
That's correct, yes. And we will also, as a city, be directional drilling the intersections and driveways. So yeah, they're just contracted to do the open trenching and installing the conduit in certain areas. So
Good. Larry, thanks for your work on this. That's good. Do we have any other comments? Want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that for the consideration and award of the bid for the 300 South Underground Power Project to LeGrand Johnson's for $73,463.03.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Larry.
Thank
Go
you.
home.
Thanks.
Okay, 11F, is this tied into our discussion on the front page?
Yeah,
So-
without it, this is.
So no discussion on 11F at this point. So let's take a moment quickly and thank you. Let's take a moment and do council reports. I think we've got to follow up on. So Councilmember Folger, you want to give us a report?
Not a lot to report right now. The Easter egg hunt coming up on April 4th. The Hiram Youth Council filled most of the eggs. We had 2,000 eggs that didn't arrive until today. They were delayed, so we'll finish stuffing those. Winco was great working with us on the candy side of things. We came in under budget, so that's a quick recap.
Good. Councilmember Michael?
This last Tuesday night, when we met and tested our equipment for communications, we had actually the week before that, we had 2 new people, and this week we had the 1 new person. So we're growing our network communications, and so that's a good sign. So
Great.
and nothing else new.
All right. Helen?
I really don't have anything, just the youth council,
Okay, you've got
The
a youth
Easter
council
eggs.
dinner tomorrow night?
Yes, tomorrow. So the youth council is having their conference, their 3-day conference that they have, and they're having a banquet on Friday night, tomorrow night. So I'll be attending that, and you will be too, right?
I'll be there. Okay,
yeah.
great. Craig?
Nothing.
Nothing? Steve?
I don't have anything.
Hey, I have one thing. It's not a report, but I wanted to ask the question. As I looked at the location of the substation on the other side of the Chevron. As you come back from the mouth of the canyon, I hate to bring this up, but it seems like Johnson's have got just a ton of junk that, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe that's just how.
That's Craig Thorne.
That's Craig.
Oh, that is?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
Craig.
that just looks like, could that be cleaned up at all?
Have you seen Craig's
That's what
shop?
adds to the rural feel of Hiram, you guys. Come on.
I don't know.
So let me just give you a brief report. I've been working with SCD out of Kansas City. And Michael O'Brien, who is with the SCD Probiotics and talking about the odor mitigation. They work with other JBS facilities, so I've introduced him to Derek Page and the general manager at JBS, and also Chris Miller and Floyd Fawcett. They've begun a dialogue and are very willing to work with SCD at an application at JBS of a product that will enhance clean air, if you will. And they're having a meeting on the 16th of this month, actually, and that all three parties are working well together. And so I think there's some great progress being made on odor mitigation in the city. So I just want to give you that update and let you know I'm pretty excited about what Michael from SCD is telling us that they can accomplish, not only at JBS, but also with maybe a higher intensity application for the rendering plant as well to eliminate any odor from the rendering plant. They've done that in other parts of the country. And so just happy that all three parties are coming together and that they're all working together well. So that's my report.
Mayor, could I get you to just look at the rendering plant, talk to Derek or whomever? When that thing starts up, that sends out so much smoke. And I don't know.
The
and it ain't a
blue
pleasant
smoke?
smell. Oh, it's smoke.
Smoke, huh?
It's flat out smoke, and it goes, and it's bad. So
It's
got
not
Derek's
just,
phone number.
Is it first thing in the morning, or how often do they start it up?
You know, because I'm not home in the mornings to see it all the time. Saturdays and Sundays is horrible.
So it's a everyday event?
I'm sure it's an everyday thing,
Okay.
but again, I'm not home in the mornings to see it. So but it
Well-
isn't a pleasant smell.
well, Derek was very willing to work in any way that he could. So that's a good point, Steve. We'll bring it up.
I just quit calling him because I was in past. So
Okay. Anything else that we need to bring up? 9:59.
Motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Okay, thank you all.
So we're just gonna move the executive session to a different day, Mayor?
Oh,